Conceptually live.
All right, my friends, Reject Nation citizens, people of the community, how are you guys? It's time. You know the drill. Let us know if we're live. We cannot proceed with bringing you this is
Whatever this is going to be. Whatever.
This is going to be the last week tonight of comic book news.
It's going to be really interesting, this flavor. I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
because you guys don't see, but we usually do about 20 to 30-minute lead-ins for DC animated movies we have to cut. And now we're live. They won't be cut. It's going to be chaos, and I'm ready for it.
You're very good at generating deleted takes to use on Patreon.
I feel like that's both a good and bad thing for everyone involved.
Sure. Yes, I think that's probably a solid assessment. But guys,
we are live.
Thank you for being here. We are going to talk about some of the latest MCU and DCU news. And hey, Panda, thank you so much for already kicking off the super chats and
what a panda.
Yes, you are no longer endangered in our hearts. But yeah, no, seriously, thank you for kicking that off. We're gonna get to the super chats ASAP, but starting out with a couple of the mainline news stories. But yeah, just thank you guys for chiming in and for contributing to the chat, and everybody who contributed to the last live stream as well. Propelled some really fun and enjoyable conversation, and yeah, we're going to try to get to everybody in a timely manner today. And we are the best guys to keep efficient.
We are very linear. We're on a path. We're on a mission. It won't meander and become all sorts of Wu-Tang references. Not here.
This is not going to be the redux of our long-lost What Would Dick Grayson Listen To podcast.
Man, I got to tell you, I almost made a Spotify playlist. I actually thought about it. How fun would that be to make playlists for different actors as roles as well as the characters' roles?
Listen.
And that way you shape the narrative of what flavor of that character would be.
That's hey, okay, look, every member of Gorillaz, every animated member of Gorillaz has their own playlist on these various platforms. So you could do that for
imagine the Teen Titans playlist separately and then together, all the different stuff that I feel like the most eclectic might be Beast Boy, but I feel like the most my vibe would be Raven.
Sure. Ooh.
Because I feel like Raven would be not just atmospheric, gloomy. I definitely think she'd like The Cure and early 9 Inch Nails, but I also feel like she'd mess with some 90s hip hop. I don't know why, but I just feel like she'd had my jam.
This is good. Okay, so
you guys, this is exactly what we're doing.
You guys ruminate on that, and comment any and all of your best picks. But I just shout a few of you out first and foremost for being here. What's up to Beantown, Brandon, 80s kid from the 90s, Evie Blue. Bryce Burris, Lloyd, just Lloyd. I like that.
Just Lloyd. I respect
that. Yeah, Mega YouTube 99. Thank you guys so much for being here. Doe Eyes, Phil Osophy, Tracy Official.
Phil Osophy's a great name.
Yeah, it is.
I want to give credit to Phil Osophy. That's dope. Philosophy.
Awesome fee. All right. And our boy Bucky Barnes holding down the chat moderation. Very much appreciate you. Let's get it. Let's start with the top stories. Yeah, let's start with the most positive story of the week. We got a trailer for the Marvels, which unanimously everyone enjoyed.
Beloved.
It's the most successful trailer. They're thinking of not even releasing the movie, but just touring the trailer and screening it in different cities because of how much people are loving it.
I hear they're going to play it 30 times, and that'll be feature length.
Yes.
And they're just going to let that be the experience people pay for. They love it. It's going to go so well.
Yeah, totally. That's the plan right now, and it seems like a solid business model for them moving forward.
I feel like I should as we get into it, because it's part of the journey. I put out a tweet and an Instagram that I stand by.
I like when people say I put out a tweet as if it's like a press release.
But you know what?
I put this tweet
I
out.
typed 280 characters or so, added a graphic, and sent it into the universe. Very big PR move. No, but I put out a tweet basically saying in 9 hours, all of the weakest willed men are going to hide behind buzzwords as a way of critiquing the Marvels. And a lot of people were triggered by that, which I found both expected and entertaining, in that I didn't say the only reason you wouldn't like it is if you were weak-willed, but I said that the weak-willed would hide behind buzzwords. So anyone that felt that that I was talking to them, that's on you, not me. And then exactly that occurred. I don't think you're a misogynist if you don't enjoy the Marvels, but I do think misogynists won't enjoy the Marvels. They're mutually exclusive concepts. I didn't think Captain Marvel was
Misogynists
that
are
good.
dedicated to not
Exactly.
enjoying the Marvels.
But
They've made up their minds
And they
already.
do it without actual critical analysis. That's the difference. Is like when I say very specifically in the tweet the buzzwords element, it's because they don't actually have anything to say. They're just cowards. So it's a really interesting like duality of people being like, "Oh no, I've been hurt by this mean man," and the actual reality of there are a lot of people that just don't like strong women, and those people aren't worth existing. Like I just don't think that should be the thing we hide
Let's
behind.
pare
So
down the chat right
I mean,
now.
let's just get rid. Open to the top. No, it'll bring in all the people that love putting American flags and shit. So like those people will rally. But I just think it's really important to acknowledge. Like I didn't think Captain Marvel was that great. It's in my bottom 4 MCU.
Okay.
But because of the people that don't like it for no good reason, it's harder to talk about. It's harder to criticize a movie that I wanted to be good, that I thought should be good. But the things I don't like about it have nothing to do with. It has to do with the filmmaking. Like I think that the first one was directed in a very superficial way. It had a lot of like we get it, she's rising. Like she rose like 82 times. And the telegraphed twist and all those things. And the reason I think The Marvels is going to be so good is I think Nia DaCosta is an incredible director. I loved Candyman. I think that Aman Vellani is charm incarnate. I think Brie Larson has found a different route to Carol Danvers. And I think what Tiana Paris is going to do with Spectrum is going to be a great balance between Carol and Aman Vellani's take on Kamala Khan. So all of the ingredients are already a better soup, in my opinion. They got a stew going. And I think that plus the fact that Marvel is looking to recalibrate strongly. This movie was shot before they decided to like pause and adjust and like really look at their stuff. But they are having more time to edit. They are having more time to play with tone. They are having more time for visual effects. So I think The Marvels has a lot of potential to be the thing that I wanted the first Captain Marvel to be. And that's why I'm so excited for this one, because I do like the character, I do like the cast, I do like the director.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes a lot of sense that even though, this is, coming on the heels of a time where they are just starting to pivot and adjust some things, I feel like Captain Marvel would be the one that in every phase of its production, no matter what the rest of the MCU is going through, they probably wanted to just give the opportunity to start it out on the best foot,
Right.
To make it as good as it could possibly be, to bridge some of that gap from the first movie, because as much as there is that, as much as there is this kind of backlash, and relating it back to the story, at least as of yesterday, it's got to be above 500,000 dislikes now. Like there are different reported numbers depending on what time of day articles were published. I have one here saying there's 468,000 dislikes. And suggesting that, the likes are certainly less than that by about 25,000 at least. It's got to be higher now, the ratio. But yeah, I mean, like, I wonder what it must be like to be anybody involved with a film like this, because it does. There are lots of ways in which I think you can, twist arguments. Or the nuances of arguments to be like, people are just dedicated to not liking this. But in the case of Captain Marvel, there is, I think, just very apparently a contingency of people committed to not liking this.
And like the movie did make its billion with a B, but it's not one that's discussed now. It's not a movie that gets brought up in top lists. It's not a movie like just because a profit doesn't equal quality. And that's a very interesting line when you're talking about a sequel, when you're talking about one with this high of stakes. I'd argue The Marvels is the next Phase 5 film, because Guardians is its own bubble. It's safe. Guardians is the end of something, not the beginning of something. And after Quantumania, it feels like the stakes couldn't be higher on The Marvels. Like this movie is in a very unfair position of having so much weight on it. And I personally thought the trailer captured that fun, cosmic energy, spontaneity, buddy cop, like body swap charm. Like it did all the things it needed to do. So there's nothing in that trailer except for people's stupidity that warrants 500,000 dislikes. That's my point. And that's what I was trying to express. And the amount of vitriol I got on the internet wasn't surprising. It's just like unoriginal. Like everyone's comments are as dumb as I expected. Everyone's reason for it's like copy paste the dumbass ahead of you. Like it's just so sad that we're like, it's 2023 and the idea that people don't want to see certain people on screen because they aren't them is tragic. Like it's just like what's the point of making art if it's going to be the same thing? And that's just I don't
Because there's
get
one kind of good art, Coy.
it.
Obviously. Guys, I'll put it to you, though. I mean, how did you guys feel about the trailer? Did you leave a dislike? Did you leave a like? Did you do nothing at all? They say people are more likely to express themselves when they're displeased with something. I like the trailer quite a bit. I mean, I was a little... it was one of those things where I wasn't like, boom, like, damn, I'm just overwhelmed with how crazy hype this looks. But I was like curiously drawn in. It was like kind of not exactly what I expected in like a neat way. So
it wasn't the Guardians trailer for me in that I was like, oh, I'm not ready for how good this looks. But it also was I'm now more excited for this with more context. It gave me enough story. It did what a teaser, 5 months out, 6 months out. Like that movie's not out till November. It's almost it's over half a year away. Like it's month 4, and that's month 10. It's half a year away. It did what it needed to do to remind us to be excited. But yeah, the reaction's just been so unfortunately expected.
Sure. And speaking of, what's a good segue here? Speaking of the unexpected, but maybe not the unexpected, we also have some potential director decisions for the DCU moving forward for specifically Brave and the Bold, correct?
Yes, so this rumor has gotten some more heat over the last few days, and this alongside the next rumor we're going to talk about, and the confirmation of Swamp Thing being directed and written by the great James Mangold.
This is confirmed.
James Mangold is confirmed to
Yes.
be writing and directing
You heard
Swamp
it here
Thing.
first
Right
or third
here.
or
You
something.
heard it here within the week
At some point
of
you
anyone
heard
else.
it here.
But you did hear it just now.
Okay, so we got Mangold on Swamp Thing.
Mangold on Swamp Thing. Muschietti
Ooh,
on Batman Brave and the Bold.
sick.
Matthew Vaughn and the Authority is what I'm hearing.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. So this sounds that sounds like a very likely, but not in the way people mean that as like a slight. I'm like,
Right,
oh yeah,
right.
these choices they make sense. Yeah.
And it's like a passionate choice because to me, Mangold's coming off Indiana Jones going into Star Wars. He can do anything he wants in the world right now.
Sure.
And he referenced Bernie Wrightson on a Star Wars red carpet. He literally name dropped one of the great artists in comic books on Swamp Thing at a Star Wars red carpet, and I got to be like, he gets it. And then Matthew Vaughn, I had my man moment. And then Matthew Vaughn, who I think is responsible for one of the most underappreciated comic book movies of all time, X-Men First Class. I'm not saying it's one of the best, though I am. I am saying it is one of the most underappreciated. I think he also has a very Mark Miller sensibility.
Great, yeah.
They've worked together, Mark Miller and him. Mark Miller made The Authority second volume. He also is a man of the sassy British repute, which is very The Authority. Like that Guy Ritchie, Matthew Vaughn energy is exactly what you're going to want out of The Authority. And then that energy is going to translate into this great darkness to be a dichotomy to the Justice League. And then Batman, I've been saying from the first word of mouth about the Flash being the second coming, that he should do Superman. It makes sense that James Gunn is going to be like, well, I wrote the thing and I've decided I'm going to do Superman. So what do you give the guy that's literally making the movie that I hear is Dark Knight good? What do you give the guy that's clearly in love with the DC Universe, that his franchise is, as much as they're talking about going on, probably just talking about going on? I can't imagine it actually gets a Flash 2. I could be wrong. But if that guy's not going to get to make something in that same exact wheelhouse, who else is as big as Superman but the Batman himself? And I think that the dark sensibilities of it, I think obviously Mama, like his background, I would love to see him handle a Batman in that vein, but also the way the Flash trailer looked, he was directing in Tim Burton style. He was directing in a very Snyder style. He's able to capture those different energies and make, we did the trailer reaction. The first thing I noticed was how incredible it was that it looked like different comic artists jamming because he grabbed directing styles.
Yeah, totally.
If he can add his own Batman style to that pantheon, and then also he's good at directing kids with it. He's good at doing all these things that are going to be necessary for a paternal Batman story. I think this actually might be even better than him directing Superman.
I can see that for sure. I mean, like that prospect excites me because I feel like this could be an opportunity to really see what his style is in this arena. I mean, the Flash obviously is going to do that, but yeah, it's like, you had stuff like Mama that is more, I would think, his direct voice, his direct tone, that's his baby, whereas something like it, you have, and I like Chapter 1 a lot. I didn't like Chapter 2 quite as much, but, that has its own Stephen King-ness to embody and stuff like that, and that is a more blockbuster horror flick than
Sure.
a more individually authored one. Not to remove he clearly authored that piece, but yeah, moving from that then to this arena. Yeah, the Flash is one where I'm like, okay, interesting, but the Batman, I'm like, or Brave and Bold specifically, I'm like, oh, cool, because yeah, especially with what, like you just said, yeah, his ability to work with the younger cast as well as the adult cast, and then bring those dark sensibilities. I think that'll be really something special and something that like will give. I feel like that may create the opportunity to see like what is peak Muschietti.
That's what I see. It's like a greatest hits album. Like he's making like all of the pieces of his repertoire in a Batman movie. Also, Mangold, Vaughn, Muschietti. Like what a launch! If they really are doing all of that as the jump, then I keep saying I think Marvel is going to get better because DC is going to be incredible. I think DC in the next 5-10 years is going to be like the powerhouse it should have always been, and Marvel's going to have to learn like to reposition
They're
because
going to have to learn from each other.
oh, it's like the Patriots, like you can't let the Patriots get comfortable because like then
Sure.
every other team is like we've seen how the
Then
Patriots
they got
play.
another ring all of a sudden, and you don't
Can't
even
let
realize
how many
it.
rings got like Kevin Feige's Brady with all those gauntlets. Like he's just like holding the gauntlet of Super Bowl rings, and now other teams are catching up. So I think it's good for all of us, and I'm really excited about those three names.
Well, I put it to the chat, guys. Which title and director are you most excited for? James Mangold's Swamp Thing, Andy Muschietti's Batman Brave and the Bold, or Matt Vaughn's The Authority? I'm very curious because, especially, I mean, not to spoil what's coming up in our DC viewing, but we've seen some things lately that hearken to what I would imagine an Authority tone would be like. And like that's one of those things where I'm like, Matthew Vaughn seems like he's just this side of like, yeah, that seems like the choice. Like sometimes you feel like a choice is like, oh yeah, that's kind of on the nose,
Right.
But I feel like it's just not.
It's not so
just
like, well,
not.
that makes sense. It's like, oh, that makes sense. It's got a little inflection in it. I also think that it's exciting that we've got Matthew Vaughn, Muschietti, and Mangold as like those are some of the directors. Oh.
Okay, sorry, I didn't want to lose the first. We're about to hop in the first super chat. Sorry,
We got very distracted when Greg appeared peripherally.
literally was a jump scare for me. But that's a good segue. Let's hop into the first super chat right now. In fact, but yeah, let us know which one you are most excited for.
Oh, finishing that thought. So sorry.
Yeah.
I love that those three directors that 10 years ago those names wouldn't have been as this like moment. So it feels like this next wave of like, holy crap, this team of directors, and also the names Swamp Thing, The Authority, and Batman all being at the same tier of excitement is already inherently exciting.
Yeah. All right, so hopping in, first super chat. Thank you so much to everybody who has contributed so far. I see we have a few to catch up on, but the Panda, you have started us off, so you will go up first. Hey, John. Hey, Panda. Thank you for being here. Love your DC reactions, particularly Superman and Lois. Have you and Greg talked about when you'll do season 3? It's been an amazing season, and the Superman and Lois reactions are my favorite. Keeping this one pretty quick because we did address this last week. Big love for Superman and Lois. Very excited to catch up with season 3. Haven't seen any of it as of yet. Just the likelihood of the reaction series returning as of now is pretty low. Just to be frank, there are many considerations and a lot of hours that go into these videos, and with just the ever-evolving shape of how things work around here and what needs to happen in order to keep everything running, it hasn't been. It's just there are a lot of obstacles to getting that one, fully. It's just been a kind of difficult one to fit back into the schedule. So I'm not really sure what form, if at all, it'll come back in. But yeah, as of right now, no real plans. But yeah, so we'll see. But big love for that show anyway, and I'm glad you guys are still enjoying it. And hopefully at some point we can hop back into. We can hop back in. But yeah, I don't expect to see reactions on the channel anytime soon, really. So yeah, but thank you very much for your enthusiasm at the very least. Motasum, keep doing what y'all doing. Appreciate the love, appreciate the encouragement, and appreciate the support. Thank you for showing your support. You are part of the glue that holds this community together, and we very much appreciate you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for spending your Saturday morning with us. Bucky Barnes holding it down, moderating the chat. This is a great. This is the way. Happy Saturday, gents. Cheers. Cheers to you. This is the way. Hope you're also enjoying El Mandaloriano. But yeah, people seem to have all kinds of feelings about that show right now, but I'm glad that you're bringing that
This
love
week was
in
the
here.
penultimate episode, right? There's one more?
True that, yep,
Okay.
one more,
Gotta
and
catch up
John
before the finale.
John Favreau guarantees it will be satisfying.
Oh, guarantees
So,
it.
Yep,
That
absolutely.
feels like a confident statement.
Oh, here's a coy one
Hey.
from Mayank Rananavare.
Dope name. I like a lot of owls myself.
Very dope name. So, hey, Coy, missed you in the last live stream. Coy made a point. He was like, I know that
I'm not
that
going to be there.
Mayank's not going to be there.
I'm going to tag out.
Mayank's
What was it,
gonna be
last
there, so I'm not
weekend?
gonna- Yeah,
Was the weekend before?
last weekend we did.
Last weekend.
Greg and I did some movie news.
I think I was in Florida, I think.
Yeah, you were doing Mega.
I was with Charlie and Vincent.
That's why. So check out some of Coy's recaps on his Twitter and such.
Yeah, I'm getting clips for y'all.
But yeah, missed you last week on the stream. With the unjustified backlash on the Marvels teaser, what do you think would be the way forward? That's a good question. Why don't you take it away?
I think the solution is don't blindly see movies for the sake of pivoting away from the conversation, but if you do enjoy the movie, be vocal about it, because the I'm going to use this word and it's going to be taken out of context, but anyone that is a racist, a bigot, or a misogynist is the enemy. So I'm going to say the word enemy. If the enemy is going to be loud and vitriolic, because I think that people that are hateful for the sake of hateful are the enemy, then you likewise need to be that vocal, right? So I think it's important. The reason I've pivoted how I handle my social media is, one, I get a lot out of trolling trolls. I enjoy it. And two, because hate is the most popular emotion on social media. Hate gets more likes, hate gets more views, hate gets a lot of ground. Like, it moves the needle. And I don't hate art. I can't make movies. I can't make a painting. I can't make music. I am not the person to hate on art. I think it's not my place. So you won't see me hating on art. But what you will see me hating on is hate. And I enjoy that so very much. I enjoy that I have anger in me that I can let out on people that are hating on things. And if they're hating on things for the sake of just being a bad person, I'm going to let them know they're a bad person. So the way I think we show our support is, if you do in fact like the Marvels, don't lie. If you don't like it, don't say you like it. But if you do like it, be vocal about it. If you do enjoy, representation on a team of any kind, whether it's someone that looks like you, someone that doesn't, someone that's, a strong woman, or someone that's like this guy you've always wanted to see on camera. I got excited when Druig was actually Irish in the Eternals, and like I got to be excited to have that people represented. So being vocal about what you want to see and voting with your wallet and being outspoken about stuff is the only way to counter ignorance and to counter the people that are being so loud. So be articulate in it, be intelligent about it, but do be vocal, I think, is the way.
Yeah. Share.
I think it's fair.
Yeah. Be genuine about it, and yeah, I don't know. They're just gonna have to proceed and be confident in themselves, and yeah, if you're a fan and you see BS out there, call it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, very much appreciate the question, and yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think Marvel should do moving ahead with the Marvels? I feel like it's a very unfortunate position for all those people to be in, and I do not envy that weirdness that they must be feeling right now. Christian Unpronounceable. I hope I said that correctly. Hashtag Coys Boys. That's right. It's the Coys Boys Saturday.
He's a new Rockstars frequenter, and it is good to see you over here on Real Rejects. Much appreciated. They call my fans over. So the Koi Pond is what my fans call each other on my stuffs, but the Koi Boys was born a new Rockstars, so that is some new Rockstars love. Much appreciated.
Well, before we hop into the next super chat, why don't we at least discuss another little piece of MCU news? Hop back to we've been talking about the Marvels again, but hop back into some new MCU news. There has been some Deadpool 3 casting information, as well as some potential plotting. Morena Baccarin is going to return as Vanessa different Vanessa, but Vanessa.
That's a really good point.
And
I never put that together. I never realized that Deadpool's wifey and Kingpin's wifey have the same name. That is a Martha moment waiting to happen in Deadpool 3. I hope that, because now he's in the MCU, you could totally have a Vanessa.
Sure.
Oh, if he says, you've embarrassed me in front of Vanessa. If Ryan Reynolds says, you've embarrassed me in front of Vanessa, you just blew my mind, John. I'm so excited.
It's gonna happen. Don't even trip. And we also have, oh my God, what is the actor's name? But the guy who plays Colossus is also going to return for Deadpool 3. That would be Stefan Kapicic. I hope I'm saying his name right. And really delightful, both humorous foil, but also formidable presence in Deadpool. And
bring back Louis Tan. Bring back Brad Pitt. Bring back just do it.
And I'm really curious to see what the plot ultimately winds up being. I mean, I've heard, obviously there's been the accepted notion that the TVA is going to be heavily involved, or Mobius in some manner, shape, or form is going to be involved. Some people think that will have to do with, saving Wolverine from an untimely demise, but also it could have to do, I've heard speculation that having Vanessa back could lead to some kind of, like he saved her from death, and so them being like, well, that's an event that has to be, and basically the TVA sort of trying to impose that thing of you need to let go of your love in order to set the timeline straight again, or whatever that might be, which sounds like a kind of reasonable plot line to go about.
I love the idea of doing a Deadpool trying to stop people from dying that he cares about, including her and Wolverine, and the TVA trying to nip all those new timelines, and that allows for X-Men cameos, that allows for all those things. But I truly do still hope and think it's going to be some sort of Deadpool kills the Fox universe. I think he's going to be cleaning up continuity for the TVA. I think maybe in order to save Vanessa, he cleans up Fox continuity, which would be really fun to have him going through and taking out last appearances of Fox characters, because we've also heard rumor that McAvoy, Lyncher, Fassbender, there we go. I was Eric Lyncher is the character name. Those characters appearing would be a really fun way to get rid of those old continuities. So I could see any number of those things. And the more casting announcements we hear, the more that seems plausible. And this movie sounds enormous and glorious. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I feel like they are very much building up a new event, and I'm enjoying just the anticipation of that. But who are you most excited to see? And are there any characters that you guys hope show up that we have no inclination as to whether they will or not, or no rumors or anything? Is there just a wish list that you guys have for Deadpool 3 in terms of characters? Sound off.
I just want a full Vanisher storyline.
Sure, let's do that. I would be very excited to meet that prospect.
What would be fun if Sean Levy is able to get Taron Egerton to cameo as Wolverine as a John Krasinski thing.
All the Wolverine castings.
Daniel Radcliffe's in it. He takes out other Wolverine. Yeah, that's the plot point. Is Sean Levy's
they kill
everyone loves that
Wolverine.
guy. That'd be so great.
Sure.
That's what I want.
Somebody quote Blink in the chat says I need more of Koi's Comic Corner.
Batman psychology video. I kind of love.
I'm excited for that to happen, sir. Mayank, let's hop into another super chat here really quick. And again, thank you guys so much for contributing, and for you guys. We have a few top stories, that Greg has assembled, and that we want to talk about, and that we've batted back and forth. But you guys drive the chat and the topics largely. So thank you for contributing and for your enthusiasm. Mayank Rananavare again. I hope I'm doing okay with your name. Hey, Koi and John. Hello to you. Will Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and the Marvels be connected somehow? And given that they are both space movies, could one of them reference the other? I think there's a high probability one could reference the other. I kind of doubt that they will have any really significant narrative connecting tissue, just because it does seem like Guardians, the whole point is that it's going to cap off this saga. It's going to cap off the involvement of so many of these actors, of James Gunn, and I feel like that's going to be a pretty contained affair that may have ripples and effects beyond itself, but I doubt that, the Marvels are going to factor in very heavily to something like Guardians 3, and I doubt that, the direct plotting of Guardians 3 will be broad enough that it will be, earth-shattering to the Marvels.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the Guardians is going to be as contained as a Marvel movie can be this deep into phases. I think a post-credit scene at most, but I honestly hope it's Iron Man 1 level contained. The end of Iron Man acknowledges the Avengers, but I let the Guardians be their own thing as they get their swan song.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think that's the most appropriate way to do it. And
Even a post credit, I wouldn't want like Wakanda Forever. If they'd put Doom in there, like the rumors were, that would have felt really like why. And I really hope that the Guardians get that same reverence.
Yeah. Let's. I think certain movies should be their own movies, and I think they're at least decent at figuring that out when it's especially important, I think. And two, I mean, Deadpool is going to be also its own little trial balloon.
Right, to see how that all ties in, that comedy and the R-ratedness. Like, the first R-rated movie is going to be exciting to see how that does it with a Marvel banner on it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things happening. It's like the Marvels has to establish its own footing again post Captain Marvel. So yeah, I feel like these movies, not to just lump Deadpool 3 in with them, but all three of these that we've been talking about on the MCU side have their own things to prove or to wrap, certainly. Raccoon Shampoo. Got to try some of that out. I feel like a bandit. How do you feel about the whole character X doesn't need a show or a movie kind of thing? It comes up with Harkness and a lot of James Gunn's DC projects. I thought people would learn their lesson after saying that about Andor. I guess not. Yeah, I mean, I think I fall on the side of anything has potential given enough time and thought to be good. You know, like you get surprised by things all the time. So I think it's possible that any character could lend itself well to a movie. But at the same time, yeah, certain characters seem like trickier prospects than others. Yeah, I don't know. It's like an Andor might not be the most obvious thing, but they clearly wanted to tell a certain kind of story with that, and there are a lot of characters, not just Andor, and I think they found a good way to sort of pluck him into and out of, you know, in different ways, a bigger scope.
This might be a hot take, but the more obscure the character, the more freedom. So therefore, if you want to make a lot of money, make a Batman at $200 million. If you want to make a lot of heart and energy of your take on something, you make an individual character popular. I think that I think there's a reason Donald Glover would rather play Hypno Hustler. I think that a lot of people are going to judge it, but I think he's going to have a lot of freedom in that, and I think that these characters that James Gunn is making are going to allow the DC Universe to be more original. I think the DC Universe is going to pull in directors like Matthew Vaughn and James Mangold and Andy Muschietti sticking around, because Muschietti will get to make that tentpole, while Mangold gets to make something that's going to be his vision of Swamp Thing. And Matthew Vaughn, like, he got taken off of X-Men when Bryan Singer came back, and I would argue that Bryan Singer made a lot of really good mutant movies but never made an X-Men movie. Matthew Vaughn made an X-Men movie. Every decision that they had with the problems I have with X-Men felt very Bryan Singer based, because he had a lot of power, because he's the guy that started it all. Like, the X-Men 1 was very formative. It wasn't Blade formative, but it was very formative to getting things moving. So I feel like Bryan Singer got a lot of power to change the characters around. But then you've got the problem of these are iconic characters, so we notice those differences. Why is Kitty Pryde using certain powers in Days of Future Past that wouldn't actually make sense? Why is Wolverine the lead of the X-Men all the time instead of having Cyclops have more than 4 lines of dialogue? Things that our comic fans' expectations are tricky with those directors, but Matthew Vaughn, being the one that actually made the X-Men movie, he got unceremoniously taken off. So I think he wouldn't sign on to the Authority if he had that kind of like expectation, and now he gets to make the thing he wants to make. So I think there's a lot of benefit in making more obscure IP, but there's also a lot of benefit in making big headline IP, depending on what you want to do as a creator.
Absolutely. It's well put, sir. And hey, speaking of segues.
Is your segue about segues?
It's a segue about everything and nothing all at once. Hold on a second. Let's see. Yeah. Speaking of movies about specific characters, Joker 2 wrapped filming earlier this week, and they dropped some new, or last week now maybe, and they dropped some new photos to go along with that. I feel like they've had a very kind of visible, just shooting schedule, or at least they've certainly not. It doesn't seem like it's been too much of a hindrance having a lot of these images and stuff come out, especially of Harley going down the courthouse steps and everything like that. And here we've got just a couple little images. I'll blow up really quick. We've got one of Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn here, as well as one of Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh, I'd seen that one. That was cool.
Yeah, in the back of a squad car, or looks like a prison bus or something, actually, maybe. Or it could be the interior of a prison. All places Joker would belong, or the hospital, something like that. But yeah, I mean, the images from this have been really fun so far, and especially just the amount of personality that Lady Gaga has been showing off, especially. I mean, most of what I've seen is from that, courthouse bit, and then some of her in different makeups and stuff like that. But I think this is going to be, again, like when Joker dropped, I wasn't really sure it needed to continue, even though I'm like, it certainly could. And I think this is a really nice way to do that, because I'm like, yeah, this is the fresh life I can imagine, I can imagine this being a really messed up Star is Born,
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I think we're getting. And I think it's really special to tie in the Joker lore that Todd Phillips made specifically. And that's kind of a unique example in between the two things I was describing just now, is Todd Phillips got the leash to make his own Joker canon. Like, that's crazy if you think about it. This is a character that is the biggest villain in DC, maybe the biggest villain in comic books. And it's a movie that's completely original. It's a movie that doesn't tie into Batman. There's a child Bruce Wayne in it. So I'm really excited for a sequel to a movie that has so much free reign, that the first one made so much profit because it cost nothing. There's a really unique situation with Joker 2, and I think that the boldness of making it at least partly musical, at least, partly the insanity of breaking into song, because you've cast Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix, who got an Oscar for Walk the Line. Like, this is a man who can sing like Johnny Cash. You've got two incredible singers, both incredible actors, playing two iconic characters in all original IP. This movie is going to be so special. I'm really excited for it.
Absolutely. And we also have a couple images as well from the upcoming Flash movie. There have been some new looks at both Ben Affleck's Batman, but most namely, we have a quick look at, or an image, an unmasked shot of Michael Keaton's Batman that I have here somewhere. Here we go. This shouts out to the folks over at The Direct. Yeah, we get a little taste of the unmasked Keaton. Let's see that there. Looking, looking like Dad Man. Looking like Bat Dad. So, I mean, I feel it's still interesting to me that even though this has been, sort of touted as being like this amazing, cinematic leap for superhero cinema, and obviously that surrounding the Flash, it has been kind of a fascinatingly interesting. There's just so much Batman coming out of this movie.
I mean, Keaton back as Batman is the headline. Like, it's a safer headline. It's also really exciting to see Keaton back. There's the age of nostalgia, I feel like, is waning a bit. I think we're leaving this nostalgia age because it's not as. There will always be nostalgia cinema, but I do think we've hit a threshold where it won't be like the precedent. And so it feels unique to have something like Michael Keaton back, but not revelatory. But I think the amount he's in this is going to be revelatory. I feel like he's the second lead, and that's exciting.
Yeah, very much. And I mean, rest in peace to the purported Batman Beyond movie. But I'm very curious to see what this amounts to, because with, again, as much love has been heaped on this movie, I cannot imagine that it is gonna be just like a silly or slight thing. It seems like it will be a very impactful role.
And the Flashpoint story is dark. Like, I feel like there's gonna be some oomph in this one if it is being regarded as highly as it has.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, speaking of DC actors in general, did you want to touch on some of the new the new DC casting announcements from James Gunn himself?
Okay, so everyone's talking about Frank Grillo because he, talked about it a month ago, and that's been leading up to this announcement. And I feel like people aren't qualifying how big these 8 announcements are, because this isn't just the cast of the Corpse Commandos. This isn't just like, hey, we've got our 8 voices. This is the first 8 actors confirmed for the entire DCU, because remember, this is a multi-medium casting decision. So it is not only their voices, it is also their video game parallel and their live-action counterpart. And all of these actors are likely going to appear in live action for these characters, and they certainly look the part. Every one of these actors absolutely nails the visual as well as their acting tonality. So we've got Frank Grillo as. Can you actually pull that up for me so I make sure I get them all right?
Yeah, let me grab.
And also I want to make sure I don't mispronounce anyone.
Surely.
So Frank Grillo is at the top, going to be the Papa of Mr. Rick Flag. So we got Rick Flag Senior, Mr. Frank Grillo, which is very exciting. And being the first cast in the DCU has made Frank Grillo very happy, which makes me happy. So seeing Rick Flag Senior here in the Corpse Commandos, and then I assume as well in live action. We've also got the great, the one and only David Harbour as Eric Frankenstein.
Frank.
Now, if you haven't seen Frankenstein's Monster, Dr. Frankenstein on Netflix, I do feel like James Gunn watched it and enjoyed that enough to bring him over. And I also think he's perfect for this role. David Harbour is a beast, and he's so dryly funny, and he's so charismatic. This is a great casting decision here. David Harbour as live action and voice and video game Dr. Eric Frankenstein.
Ooh.
Then we got Indira Varma. Now, I know this actress's work. I recognize her, but I don't remember where I know her from. So I'm going to completely own that. But, like, she absolutely has that very intense look, and the roles I think of her in are very intense. And The Bride is effectively the lead. So this is a great role for her, and I'm very excited to see her portray it.
Absolutely. Sorry, just get rid of this ad that's taking up the screen.
We've got one of the best voice actors in the game and one of the best actors that doesn't get enough credit for how multi-talented he is. Mr. Alan Tudyk as Dr. Phosphorus. This is Disney's good luck charm. They've literally used him in every animated movie in the last few. In fact, the Disney 100th anniversary film Wish stars him as a thank you for being their good luck charm. And now he's also playing Dr. Phosphorus over at WB. And that's actually another thing I want to bring up. The weird thing where everyone's making it like this battle of like, these 3 MCU stars left for the DCU. Spoiler alert, David Harbour's still in Thunderbolts. He didn't leave anything. He's just an actor
just gonna
working.
be in both. Everyone's just going to have their big paycheck on one side and their big paycheck on the other
As
side.
they have for years. Chris Evans has been like 4 superheroes for both sides. Ryan Reynolds has been Green Lantern. It's a weird thing that we're 20 years into the superhero world and people are like, they abandoned one side. It's not. I know it's a headline. I know you're excited to get your clicks, but don't lie. So Alan Tudyk is Dr. Phosphorus. Very excited.
Absolutely. Moving on. Come back to the mouse. There you go. And Maria Bakalova from Borat 2.
Also the voice of Cosmo.
Oh, hey. What? Really? Oh, hey. Fun.
So she's going from Guardians, Cosmo into the
Cosmo.
yeah, right. So this is very exciting
Guy.
stuff. She was the voice in the Christmas special.
Lovely. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
and she is
Oh,
Princess.
that's right. Yes.
Princess
All right.
Alana Rostovic. Don't know this character. Won't pretend to. Excited to see this actress get more work. She is so talented.
Absolutely. Hey, I am an expert on Alana Rostovic, but I am going to let you languish out here in front of the
Flailing
people.
in the dark.
Fake nerd.
Who do I
coy.
think I am?
And Sean Gunn obviously had to be involved, but he's in dual roles as both G.I. Robot and Weasel.
Which does seemingly confirm the Suicide Squad is still canon, which is exciting. I imagine because he said no actor would play roles in, like he said he's not Lobo and Aquaman, but Weasel was in the Suicide Squad, so it's interesting. I'm just saying that's an interesting tie in there.
It must. I have to. I guess it must be that if G.I. Robot were to appear in live action, it's either a makeup or a CG.
Right, so that's
So
and
it's like-
same as Weasel.
I think I think they can get around that with Sean Gunn because Weasel is a CG character. And,
Technically,
and all
Sean Gunn's Calendar Man in live action.
That is true. There
so
you go.
we got his
So-
live action taken. We got
so
2
when
voices.
the long
the man,
Halloween live action reboot goes up.
Sean Gunn jumps into the Batman.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I mean, don't. That'll break the dam, and then everything will be
Chaos.
Yeah, and then Zoe Chow is Nina Mazursky.
Who's got a great
Looks like Abe Sapien.
yeah, Guillermo del Toro's Abe Sapien flavor going on, but I'm really just excited to see what of these come to live action and how that translates.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And we got Steve Agee, the biggest announcement.
Boom.
Still playing John Economos after the hit. Actually, I won't finish that just in case anybody is concerned about spoilers for a certain DC film. But anyway,
Peacemaker's own Steve Agee.
Steve. Yep.
Is it Agee? Agee?
I have most reliably heard it as Agee.
Agee? Okay.
But
I'll try that.
I'm trusting comedians here, and there's
Always
that-
bold.
And those are the casting announcements for that project.
First 8 actors in the DC were locked.
Absolute volume. Well, along with the ones that we know about. And hey, just gonna pull this up in here really quick. There's another little Keaton shot, but we got the Ben Affleck. There's a new Ben Affleck shot for you, looking all intense.
Batman.
And we also have a new shot of what is her name? Sarah Calais.
Sasha.
Sasha Calais. There you go.
You were
as,
close. I was like, my brain won't. How's it different? Yeah,
as-
Sasha Calais looks great.
Supergirl. Supergirl.
Supergirl.
There you go.
Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is that's what helps me remember. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is the comic they're adapting, so it's Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Okay, and then there's Superwoman Girl of Tomorrow.
Exactly. That's the weird time travel one they're going to make next.
Good. Excellent. All right. Well, guys, let's hop back into the super chats really quick. Actually, let's just see what the regular chat's doing for just a hot second. Still waiting for my polka dot man film, says
Aren't we all?
Aisha Kenya. Yeah, absolutely. Call your boy.
David, come on.
Call,
Get on
call
it.
Desmalchin over
It'd be like,
here.
hey, what are you doing? Let's
Come
make
on,
a Polka Dot
man.
Man movie. Me and you.
You want holes? We got dots. Hey, Iman Vellani, some Canadian love in the chat as
Hell
well. And hey, JR, glad that you are able to join us and that you're not working and contributing to society.
Here, contributing to society.
And yeah, hey, some Dr. Phosphorus love as well from Ben Phillips in the chat. Always love.
Knight's Tale's own Alan Tudyk.
Hey, I still got to see that movie. Me and, every time I see Andrew Gordon, he's like, dude, we got to do that.
You've never seen A Knight's Tale?
Oh.
That is one of the most formative movies to my entire existence.
Oh, dude.
Like, that's like Lethal Weapon up there. That's like
I've
Matrix.
Never seen Lethal Weapon either. Now is the time.
Okay.
Now is the time while Dragged Across Concrete
Fight
is
Club,
in the top 10 on
The
Netflix.
Matrix,
Never
Knight's
seen
Tale.
Fight Club either. That's coming. Are we about to lose our friendship?
In Bruges?
I love In Bruges.
You've seen the obscure one of the five. Like there are
that is a very John thing you'll find.
There are 10 movies that shape me, I would argue, and like you've not seen most of them. That's gonna be. I'm really curious if you watch them and understand me more or less. Like if you go like what do you mean this? That's fascinating.
Okay.
I'm so excited for you to see any. Like A Knight's Tale was like my entire sexual awakening. Like that movie like taught me so much about how I felt about the world
through a whole other.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, man. That movie's gonna be. That's like if you ever have like a conversation about movies that shape you, that one's like easily top 3. That's fascinating. Dude, I'm so excited for you to see it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for not hating me because
No,
I haven't seen it.
I'm jealous of anyone that gets a life experience that I've enjoyed to such a level, getting to have that at like an age where they can appreciate it differently. Like I think it's really beautiful to like discover an art at any age. So I think it's always really closed-minded to be like, why do you not like have this experience? And then you have an inherent like why make a negative about something positive ever? But also like if you're about to have an art experience that's important to you, why would you judge someone that's about to have that beautiful moment happen to them? That's such a like it's
little gem there.
Yeah.
Good. Treat your friends with love and enthusiasm when they haven't seen a classic.
That'd be like, I really enjoy chocolate cake. Oh, you've never had chocolate cake? You better never have it because it's great. Like,
yeah,
what
because you're going to be a fake fan now that you're behind the rest of us of chocolate cake.
It's so weird. Gatekeeping in any form is baffling to me,
It's
but
the
especially
worst.
with film because you're about to have 2 hours that is going to change your life. That's amazing. What a gift.
Absolutely. I had the experience multiple times here on this channel. Motassum, thank you for the super chat contribution. Very much appreciate you being here, and all of you guys for chatting away in the chat, for sending for just being here at all, especially on this maiden voyage of John and Coy. I have no idea if this will ever happen again. It all depends on how organized we're able to be.
Yeah, that's real.
Which in our hands is always going to be an easy task. But Motassum,
Bag of cats.
going back to some of your comments from earlier, X-Men First Class is my favorite X-Men movie. Says
I like you,
Motassum.
Motassum. I like it.
And yeah, I think X-Men First Class is like terrific, and I remember that movie in ways I feel like maybe people wouldn't claim it the best, or I'm not used to hearing people say that, but in a lot of ways when I just think back on the franchise, when you get past like the X2 of it all, you're like, First Class though was like a moment.
It brought it
and
back.
The period piece of it all, like
it allowed X-Men to come back with power, and like I don't discredit Days of Future Past, but like there's an element of First Class that's underappreciated, whereas Days of Future Past gets all the love, and then like Apocalypse and everything else. But like I think First Class. Obviously, the Eddie Gathagi moment is ridiculous. Like Darwin going is dumb, but it has less flaws than the others.
Sure. A99.
Ryan, bring back Eddie Gathagi. That's the move for Deadpool 3.
Okay.
Imagine if Darwin comes back. Like that'd be such a great. Like everyone else is dying except Darwin, and you find out Darwin has survived everything because he can't die, like as it should be. So Eddie Gathagi comes back all these years later. That's what I would do.
Put him in the MCU.
He's the first X-Men. Like Eddie Gathagi's the only one that survives the Fox onslaught. So Deadpool kills the whole Fox universe except Eddie Gathagi because he's Darwin. He's your first canon X-Men. Done.
Darwin fans harass the Marvel people on Twitter. A99, Multiverse of Madness. Thank you, by the way, for contributing to the conversation. First and foremost, the conversation, because that's what we're here to do, converse. Multiverse of Madness and Quantumania also had huge potential, but at this point, I'm not buying into any pre-excitement anymore. No trailer can fool me. It is what it is. You know, that's fair. Like, I feel like as movie fans, and especially as fans of this genre, that so many of us, and especially people who have been following the comics for ages and who are especially passionate, yeah, like this has been a rare opportunity to watch a genre of cinema kind of pop off and take hold of the center stage. And yeah, there is, I think, a wealth of sort of dizzying excitement that kind of comes with that. But yeah, a decade or more than a decade, well, more 15 years of the MCU now, uh, you know, alone plus DC. Like, yeah, I think it is reasonable to be at a point where you're like, okay, like I've seen enough of these. I understand this genre now. And people talk about. I've heard some discussions this week about the idea of superhero overload and stuff like that. And I think it is sort of a question of any trailer, yeah, can look amazing, but is this movie going to give me something that is fresh or outside the box? Or, like, I heard people talk about Shazam 2 in particular, basically being like, it's not bad, it's just like people are used to this perhaps in a different way, and so it's harder for things to stand out. And yeah, I think the hype train also kind of contributes to that, because yeah, it's like these trailers and things are predicated on being like mind blowing and oh my god, the anticipation. And there's also like a level of tenacity, amongst the fans of trying to figure out what all this stuff is and corresponds to. And so yeah, I feel like it can lead to this like maximal outpouring of energy that comes with all your enthusiasm, and then at the end of the day, it is just like the amalgamation of a bunch of people's combined efforts, and a movie can go either way. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I have gotten to a point in life where I manage my expectations a lot, but certain movies I'm like, nah, no matter what happens, I'm just going to let myself be excited and see what happens. Like unbridled excited.
I feel like every year since superhero movies started, there's never been more than one or two superhero films in my top 10. Like, I love superhero movies, but it's never like my top 10 isn't just superhero films, because it's a different like experience to me. So the commodification of art is trailers. Like, you're literally selling art. So a trailer doesn't really impact my experience one way or the other. If anything, like, I see the trailer as a separate piece. Like, it's a different piece of art than the actual movie. Yeah. And I unfortunately think it's gotten more and more ruinous. Like, they've gotten more and more spoilery. They've affected movies negatively in more ways. But I think that's also, like, in part our fan entitlement and expectation. And if it doesn't have this, it's not worth seeing. And all those things that trailers have to be. So, like, I don't think a trailer can fool me or not. I just think a trailer is a different piece of art that often ruins the movie, not enhances it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, every trailer has to attempt to make this look as amazing as it could possibly look. So
everything's supposed to break the internet, as opposed to just being like, hey, this movie's coming out, you should hear about it.
Yeah, for sure. But hey, I mean, how many trailers can we get with Ana de Armas in them that won't have her in the actual movie?
I mean, at least 7 more. She's actually not in that Chris Evans movie.
Not at all. Oh,
she's the one that is ghosting. The ghosted's about her not being in the movie.
Curious to see how that turns out. I keep seeing the billboards, and I'm like, this doesn't feel like a real movie.
It does feel like a The Boys movie.
Sure.
It feels like something that is in universe of The Boys, and I'm very curious to see how it plays out.
Exactly what that looks like. Ryan Green, thank you for contributing. Thank you for your thoughts and your love and all that good stuff. John and Coy, keep being amazing. We will try. We are attempting it right now, and I have no idea how it's going to go, but I'm having a lot of fun being here with you guys. So appreciate the love. Also, have y'all seen the new Super Mario movie? Not only is it breaking records, but it's close to making $1 billion. And this actually kind of relates to a topic of conversation that has popped up in the news this week. I have not seen Super Mario. In fact, there's a pretty high likelihood that a reaction will happen at some point. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Did you see it?
I did. I had a great time with it. It is very, very, very much a romp. Like, I definitely found myself not gobsmacked by cinema, but I also found myself very much smiling and joyous and invested in what it was. It's visually stunning. It's a good time. Yeah, I definitely don't think I'll be watching it every week, but I think when it comes on, I'll be like, Mario, I enjoyed that time. So yeah, I had a great time with it. It makes sense. It's making all the money. It is the most popular video game of all time, I think. So what a known property to be good, and I'm really happy for Illumination.
Absolutely. Coy, I got one request of you.
What do you got?
Watch the camera.
Oh, I keep trying to read.
as intently as the don't try to read the super chat here. Try
Okay.
to read it over here because you're
it's
going to
very
drive
small
yourself
there.
insane, and this screen is very dim right now.
Got it.
But speaking of segue into the news of the week, or at least of the conversations of the week, do you think people are going crazy right now? Mario is it's the highest grossing such and such and such and such, and it's also a very high grossing movie in general, and the highest of the year thus far. Do you think Guardians will overtake it? That's people are highly
Year
speculating it might. Yeah.
I think it'll definitely take its spot in the week when it happens, but I think that it'll land just shy of it. I think
In terms of overall box office.
1.3 to 1.4 Mario, and I think 1.1 to 1.2. We're talking like, I mean, that's still $100 million, but like, I think they're going to be very close to each other. But I think Mario is a bit bigger than even a third movie in the Marvel franchise. Because
Sure.
how many generations of people are like the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and today are Mario fans? Whereas like, so parents bringing their kids, seeing it multiple times. I think Guardians is going to be very, very impactful and sorrowful. And I don't know if that means, it has the same like rewatch and you bring 10 people to it. I think it's going to be the biggest Marvel movie in a long time. But I think at the end of the run, Mario will be slightly ahead.
Okay, that seems like a fair projection. I mean, Mario is one of the most ubiquitous characters and has a gallery of ubiquitous characters.
And Groot has gotten huge, and Guardians have gotten huge,
Rocket,
but like,
yeah.
like they're icons now. But Mario's been icon, like they've all been icons for 40 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Allison Mello in the chat. Where is John? John is right here. Don't worry,
he's right here.
I
Found
haven't
him.
gone anywhere. And hey, I'm glad Multiverse of Madness delivered for you, Dalton Mead Smith. I think this has been an interesting time because as the previous super chat from A99 mentioned, the big potential of a Quantumania and a Multiverse of Madness not feeling so satisfied, perhaps. But I'm glad to see some Multiverse of Madness love out here, and I'm glad that at least that movie was able to take some amalgamation of swings. I feel like that's kind of what we're watching with the MCU right now, is watching as they kind of figure out how to balance, having that level of, I think blockbuster movies in general are always trying to figure out how do we like honor the creative voices whilst also, making sure we get our investments back.
Yeah, exactly. That's the balance. It is show business.
Yeah, and so watching those two movies, Multiverse of Madness and Quantumania, feel like they were certainly affected by the modularity of how these films are made. This plan changed, so we have to change these scenes, but also the pandemic and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think this will be an interesting phase because, the Marvels has its own thing to prove. Guardians has its own thing to send off. Deadpool 3 has things to establish. Like, all of these upcoming portents are things that have their own, really clear-cut just goals to hit and reasons to be kind of qualitative just on their own rather than as a part of a continuum as the main goal. It's like Ant-Man and the Wasp. Quantumania certainly is more focused on being part of the continuum than it is on being its own movie.
Yeah, I agree.
But glad to see some of that love. El Chupanibre. I'm always aiming for that R roll. I hit it half the time. But yes, Knight's Tale. We'll work on it. We got better ways of dealing with the music stuff now, so it's more likely than ever before. Gilmer Eric Smith in the chat, fan casting Eiza Gonzalez as Wonder Woman.
Love it.
Love it, and it's funny enough. We've never really discussed this, but I did a fan cast of my Justice League when we got some patron Q&As way back, and I believe through that experience I discovered that we have the same fan casting for Wonder Woman.
Do we?
I don't know if yours has changed, but at the time we did.
Is Audrey Arjona?
It's Audrey Arjona. Yeah. I think she'll be terrific.
She is so good.
Yeah.
Like, she's so good in Andor, and she's so, like, her presence on red carpets is so powerful. Like, when I met her for Morbius, there was a moment where I was like, I'm looking at Wonder Woman. Like, I see and I don't usually have fan casts appear before me. Like, usually I think about it and I think about their style and I think about how they play roles and their choices, but like, she walked in front of me and I was like, Wonder Woman's here. Like, she is so perfect, I think.
Absolutely, but Eiza Gonzalez, I mean, she is also great, and I could definitely see her. Like, she can throw down, certainly, and I mean, it's funny seeing her from first the From Dusk Till Dawn series and then watching as her
Mm.
career has risen in profile. It's like she's definitely seems game to throw down on the action and the physicality and stuff like that. So
Anna de Armas for Zatanna.
Oh,
Make it happen. Anna de Armas,
interesting.
Zatanna. I want it.
Okay, I'll chew on that. I'm very excited for a live action Zatanna whenever that happens.
Yep.
And,
Recent discovery for you. It's been exciting.
oh yeah, and hey, go check out our Justice League Dark reactione, because that was an absolute blast and a half and 3/4. Really quick, just want to make sure that there is not a super chat pertaining to this. There is not. We also, I realized this week, have a little bit of Blade casting news.
We do, Miss
That's right.
Mia Goth.
Mia Goth is joining the cast of Blade along with their new writers and all that stuff. How do you feel about that, my guy?
I think it is very smart to not only combine the cult horror world that is Mia Goth's playground.
I'm just gonna move you past the chat here. There you go. Not that I don't want to be close to you.
I understand. You got to shove me away. I think Mia Goth.
That's what, I've noticed that Greg will just, instead of waiting, he'll just be like,
do
I'm
it.
just going to position you now.
That's
So
the
I'm going
move.
to try and emulate that level of assertiveness.
It's part of being in that chair. So I think Mia Goth brings a certain clout, a certain cult horror following. I think that she's at the exact right point in her career where she's very buzzworthy but also talented. Like, there's a point in your career where you've done a lot of things that got you acclaim and then you get to make a lot of money. So
Yeah.
I really hope that this is her getting to, like, make the money you can't necessarily make in cult horror movies. I think it brings an audience, and it also, to me, shows a tone of what this movie is. Because if they're looking for an actress like Mia Goth, they're probably making a cult-ish horror movie. I'm also hoping that this restructuring of Blade with a new writer, new director might spell out an R-rated Blade, because I do think Blade is one of the only characters that... A lot of characters that people like, make it R-rated, doesn't need to be. Blade, he's a vampire, there's blood there. So I'd like an R-rated movie, so I'm hoping Mia Goth is that. So I think this is great casting. It shows a certain tone choice, a certain following, and a certain point of an actress's career that I want to blow up, so I'm excited.
Absolutely, and at least the reports are saying that she will play Lilith Drake, daughter of Dracula.
Ooh,
So,
because I've heard Dracula's in this, so that'll be interesting. But maybe it's not Dracula anymore. Maybe it's this. Nicolas Cage.
It's Nicolas Cage.
Nicholas Hoult comes in as Beast, and Nicolas Cage as Dracula.
Oh my God, I have not seen Renfield
It's a
yet.
blast, dude.
I'm happy to hear that, because and I don't go out of my way to say these things unless we're being honest on a video. But the trailers, I saw the trailers and I was like, oh, this looks like a mess.
Oh, it's
This
insane,
looks,
and it's
these
silly.
trailers are not helping, and then to see the largely positive and fun response has been very, very
It took me about
gratifying.
10 minutes to get into the movie because of how insane it is, but I think that's a hard trailer to cut because the movie's just bananas.
Yeah.
Like, it's Nick Cage at his cagiest while allowing himself to Dracula it up. Like, it's so weird. Had a blast.
And yeah, glad to see some of that Mia Goth love in the chat. Yeah, because I mean, it's funny too to watch people's profiles rise, because I feel like there does become this game of like, okay, so who's popping off and who's about to get snatched up for which franchise.
That's why Billy Magnuson Booster Gold is perfect. Billy Magnuson has been like right on the edge of superstardom for a long time, and I really think that he's about to have like 3 things in a row. Like, I think he's in Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor. Dude, I'm so excited for Roadhouse. But he's always the guy that's like, oh, I love this guy in this thing. And his characterization is exactly Booster Gold. He has that smarm, but you like him. He looks like him. He's not too big where he doesn't have the schedule to do the shows, but he's big enough that I want him to be a every one household name.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's right at the same point Mia Goth is.
Ooh. And too, I'm excited to see Pearl. We finally watched X, and there's a reaction on the channel. But yeah, I'm excited to see Pearl, because yeah, I remember, seeing her in that oh God, The Cure for Wellness, and then Mad Max and stuff, and then yeah, and she's got that sort of Tim Burton-y thing.
Someone wrote in all caps, Sahel Akhtar, what
I was
superhero
about
character?
to point that out.
I saw the caps. What
Jump on
superhero
it.
character can Kristen Stewart play? Polaris. Stoic, intense, very focused. I can see her being someone that is like the green hair, the gravitas. She runs S.H.I.E.L.D. in space. She's also the daughter of Magneto, so she's got a lot of backstory and intensity, and she's got relationships with a lot of the X-Men that are both cantankerous and loving. I think Kristen Stewart has so much more gravitas than she gets to do in mainstream films. I think she shows it a lot in her indie work. I'd love to see her bring that to a mainstream film so people stop referring to her as like the actress from Twilight, because she's so much more than that. I think that Pattinson is out of that
she's
now.
Still, I feel like she has done the legwork already to prove that
has.
she's transcended Twilight. But yeah, I feel like she still needs that big everybody now can see.
Here's the
yeah.
$1 billion version of that performance.
Yeah,
and I think
here's the
Pattinson
Batman
did
version.
that. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I personally think she'd be a great Polaris.
And you mentioned Booster Gold and Billy Magnuson, and it's funny because every time you mention Billy Magnuson, I'm like, I know, and then I look him up and I'm like, oh yeah, that guy. But somebody just mentioned Glenn Powell as well, whose profile's popping off.
It's the most common casting choice, and mine is no less stereotypical. But I see Glenn as so genuinely likable that I don't see him as smarmy as Booster. I know he's played smarmy. But even in the role of Hangman, he was so likable they couldn't just make him the villain. Like even Glenn Powell, they originally wrote Hangman to be more of the antagonist, and Glenn actually originally went out for Miles's role. And then they liked Glenn so much they wrote a new role, and then it was too antagonistic because Glenn's too likable. So there's a thing about Glenn that's just he's a golden age superhero type of guy. He's Hal Jordan. He just is. He can already fly, looks like him, but it's his stoic charm.
That's a good call.
He's Hal, and I wouldn't want to see someone that is so Hal Jordan doing the Booster Gold thing. As funny as Glenn is, and as funny and the comedic timing and everything. If you haven't seen Everybody Wants Some, you should. It's a Richard Linklater joint, spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused. He's genius in that. But to me, I'd rather see a Golden Age hero that is a little milquetoast, a little stale, get some love by having an actor that can add flavor to it, than see an actor play Booster Gold that is too likable, personally.
Fair enough. I feel that. You've convinced me, Coy. You've convinced me. And just a couple other little chat items before we hop back into the supers. D'Angelo Joseph says, protect Coy at all costs.
Thank you.
And we will do our best to. I think
Don't tell the internet.
Allison Mello, I would love to see William Zabka as Booster Gold. I don't care how old he is.
That is genius.
Make it happen. I would so... give me that Johnny Lawrence Booster Gold.
Oh, I want that
day.
so badly now.
And
I was just with him at MegaCon, and he is so invested in fandom. He cares about what the energy of the room is like. He cares about how much the fans are having a good time. He cares about the moderator's experience at a panel. William Zabka is one of the most kind, considerate, and funny people I've ever met. He is such a good person. I want him in everything just because I want him happy. It's just I want the man happy.
Zabka at all costs. Okay.
Just a gentle giant of a lovely man. He's also Johnny LaRusso. He makes jokes that are ha ha, but then he checks on you.
Yeah.
I love I have so much love for Zabka.
Aw. And do you have a pick for Jean Grey? Christian Unpronounceable wants to
I want them to go younger for Jean Grey because I want them to start with some Marvel special presentations. I think that all of the X-Men, a core 7, should get a special presentation where their origin is told, and then a movie should bring them together. So an hour story of Jean Grey, of Storm, of Cyclops with more than 4 lines. I think those things to build up to it. And I think the girl from Dungeons and Dragons. I think her name is, what is it, Sophia Lillis? Or is that the girl?
I was about to say Sophia Lillis, and I didn't even realize she was in Dungeons and Dragons.
I think
yes, she's in it. I forget what that character's name is now, but yes.
Am I just mixing up my redheads though? Because there's
No, I
two
think
very
you're right.
talented young redhead actresses right now that I think both could crush. Oh no, I'm right. Okay,
Sophia
so
Lillis, yeah.
she's
in Dungeons and
so
Dragons.
good.
Oh sure, yeah.
Yeah,
you're thinking of her or the
Girl from Stranger Things.
Yeah,
I don't remember her name, so I was
Sadie
afraid.
Sink,
Thank you. And she was great in everything she's done. But I think that Sophia Lillis has a little bit more of that. Can turn on a dime. You can see the darkness of Phoenix. That could come. And I think that you've played that long game. I think Sophia Lillis is so talented, so young that I'd like to see her play Jean for 15 years. So yeah, she's my Jean Grey.
That was the first. I mean, you were more qualified, but that was my off the domer.
She's so good.
So good. I'm glad we're on the same page. And never lose your nerd. Actually, great segue. Let's get into some Streamlabs right now. And thank you guys. There is a pinned link. And yeah, any and all contributions are very much appreciated. Streamlabs doesn't take quite as much of a cut as YouTube, so appreciate you taking the time to jump out of one platform into another. And yeah, let's jump over there real quick. Never lose your nerd. We will do our best. Yeah, I can't imagine. Losing your nerd. Just one day waking up and just being I
hate geeky stuff.
I hate geeky stuff, and I feel like losing your nerd truly would mean more than you expect, because I feel like it would, you can be a nerd for anything.
100%.
I think nerd is more.
It's about a passion. It's about a zeal.
Yeah,
a
it's
joy
less
to
about the
vivre.
cultural perception of you.
I agree.
There are sports nerds, so like, yeah, if you just lost your nerd,
Just
you
being
might,
apathetic.
Yeah, you
like
just-
waking up and being like lackluster.
Yeah, you just might not know. You might not care that much about racquetball or whatever your thing was anymore.
I never lose your nerd.
But anyway, I love Brie Larson and loved her in Captain Marvel and really enjoyed the movie. I look forward to her in future projects. That's one I'm curious to watch again because I remember watching it in the theaters and being relatively positive. And, in those situations, obviously, you do your best not to, with a movie like that, it becomes kind of difficult to assess because you don't want to let the discourse affect you very much. But at the same time, it's part of the consciousness of what's happening. So yeah, I don't know. At the time, I certainly left the movie being like, I don't get why everybody hates this so much. I actually thought that aspects of this are kind of unique compared to the overall of some of the things we've seen. But yeah, I'm glad to see some love for that movie because I haven't seen it since we watched it in the theaters, and I'm curious to see how I feel about it on a rewatch.
I need to rewatch it before the Marvels as well.
Because people do often claim it as, even with the vitriol, factored out, like you said, it's just genuinely kind of lower rank, pretty low.
I got
ranking.
filmmaking problems with it.
Sure, yeah, absolutely, and I can see totally how that would kind of be, and also too how maybe some of the aspects are a bit on the nose or whatever that is. So I'm curious to go back and kind of assess my enjoyment of it. But I'm glad that you are loving it and that you have that passion for it, and I hope that the next movie can, live up to that and surpass it, even because I got to feel like it's a good position if they succeed anyway. But it's an even better position if they can like succeed and also top for the people who did just always enjoy
people that were
the Captain Marvel franchise.
Agreed. Adding Iman Vellani is always the right move.
Absolute vodka. Flev Doran, brother Flev. Marvel enthusiast with a DC-related observation, I think. Hi, John and Coy. I just started the DC movie reactions series. I've been wanting to watch those films for years, and your reactions gave me the perfect excuse. A lot more fun and informative watching with you. Oh, thank you, sir.
We love doing them, man. They're so much fun. Very happy people have taken them because I wanted to keep going, and I was like worried that people would be like, "Okay, you've done like 5," but like people keep loving them, so I'm like, I want to do like 80.
It is the one of the I shouts out to Greg, who he's watching out there, but yeah, no, when he first came up with that idea to pair us together. I thought it was just going to be like, oh, we're going to do one of these, and then maybe Koi's going to collab with a whole bunch of people, and then it became this journey that I am intensely grateful for. Like, every week I look forward to these shoots and to continuing this journey. Like, they're just such fun movies to take in just as an enjoyment experience as a viewer, but also they give you great stuff to talk about. They are their own form of just keeping your mind spry and aware for all these different, developments.
And you get comic recs out of them because you remember story. Like, for me, I remember storylines I haven't read in years, and for you, I can be like, oh, this character is this. Like, it inspires a lot of, like, nerdy creativity, which I really am enjoying because it spans so much. And for years, I've heard how good DC animated movies were, and they're exceeding expectations, which is, I could not give it higher praise.
Yeah, like real, and they really exemplify. Like, I know animation and live action are not the same when you're conceiving of a script or whatever, but I do marvel at the way that these films are able to, tell an hour and 15, 20-minute story that oftentimes the best of them have, the emotionality, the philosophy, the action, the fun, the fantasy. Like, they're able to cram all of that stuff in there, and I feel like the movies to some extent could take a little bit of
and our next one is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh, so excited for you to see what's coming next. We're deviating a little bit from the lineage, but I think it'll be an exciting one for people. Here's an interesting little casting bit in the chat here. Gilmer Eric Smith says Jay Ellis as Jon Stewart. What do you think about
comedian?
that? Jay Ellis is, I believe, from Insecure, and he was.
Make sure I know the right
He
fella.
was in Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, that Jay Ellis. I was
Yeah.
thinking Jay Farrow.
He's.
I had the wrong Jay.
No, I almost got to pay Jay Farrow a compliment at the Shazam 2 premiere,
Oh, yeah?
but then I didn't get to, but I stood near him, and he had a very nice suit on. So.
I've spoken briefly to both of these Jays once, and they introduced themselves as Jay, so my brain just went to the other Jay. Jay Ellis is
Jay
a
Ellis.
very talented man who also learned to fly because that was Tom Cruise's
Sure.
mandate. So I love the idea of all the Green Lanterns having pilot licenses, even though Jon Stewart is less of a pilot. I think he's very, very talented and also one of those actors that right on the cusp of being everywhere. I would love if Jon Stewart had the ability to elevate a very talented actor to household name. I think there's a lot of actors that could play Jon Stewart, but there's only a few that could master the amount of leadership, occasional arrogance that causes problems, likability while having those flaws. There's a lot to Jon Stewart, so I would love someone like this to crush it. So yeah, love that idea.
Yeah, I've been, like I said, I started watching Insecure back when that first season dropped just on a whim and got. I was just very enthralled by it, and he's one of the main characters of that show. And ever since then, it's been fun to watch his star rise, watch him go to Escape Room, and then Top Gun Maverick, and all these other things. So yeah, I'm definitely rooting for him. And you know, I mean, again, I defer to you for these matters, but I think, I mean, just from the experiences I've had with the character of Jon Stewart and from his chops, I feel like if he bulked up, you know,
Yeah.
I feel like he could be a really cool. Like I always go John Boyega.
Sure. I want John Boyega's redemption, franchise redemption.
Absolutely. Like, justice for Boyega. Give him that.
Truly one of the guys that I really think should get cast in something as an apology. Like, he's so talented. And
Give
he
him
gets
and Henry
screwed
Cavill
yeah.
like a buddy movie.
Like anything that's going to be like, hey, this is going to make $1 billion. Here's 5% of the back. Like, just like he's so talented,
sorry.
and he got so publicly screwed. And he's like, you give a guy a role where he's like, hey, you're going to be a stormtrooper that becomes a Jedi, but then we're not going to do that.
Dude,
So sorry.
And
Like
somebody,
what? How do you fucking feel that?
I saw a tweet just this week. I can't remember if it was David Ayer tweeting it or just him retweeting and responding to it. I think it was David Ayer, but somebody basically said like, where's the, you know, like gritty, you know, stormtrooper from the stormtrooper POV, like, you know, grunt soldier movie.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, do that, because I mean, you know, David Ayer Fury, it makes sense. And I'm like, yeah, like give John Boyega that movie. Like what
Yeah.
led it, like that iconic moment from the teaser for the Force Awakens where
Yeah.
he comes over the ridge and he pulls his helmet off and he looks so desperate. Like what led to that
I
moment?
want that Star Wars movie.
Like, that
I
could
want him in
be-
Andor. I want him in that.
Yeah, watch him wake up from the imperial indoctrination and you know, sort of see the seeds, like, you know, do an Andor, but it would
About a
be
stormtrooper,
different
yeah.
from Andor. Certainly, it would have a different political inclination than Andor, but you could do something really worthwhile.
I
think.
love Boyega as Stewart because that does give him that, like, here's your franchise. We're going to be over here. We're
Yeah.
sorry, and you're great. Because he's also wicked talented, and he seems like a really good guy. I like where he stands on a lot of issues, and I like how outspoken he is about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Big fan of that guy.
No, he keeps it real. Him, that, or I could also see him as maybe like a cyborg.
Oh, yeah.
Not to-
Well, because he's got a
Not
lot
to
of...
just be like any black character, but I could see the build and
No,
the
his
personality of
humor
both
is
those guys.
cyborg.
I could see him. Yeah.
To me, it's Boyega's humor is very cyborg. The way he is in interviews, the way he carries himself. I like the athleticism of, like, the cyborg character before he becomes cyborg for Boyega. I see all that.
Now, really quick, because the chat does want to know right before we're going to hop back into super chats. But what do you think just at the moment? Not going to spend too much time on this, but Larry Allen asks, who will be Kang once Jonathan Majors gets fired? I'm not going to go so far as to double down on your assertion that he will certainly be fired, but what do you think of the situation as it stands now? I mean, there are at least reports of, like, they're talking... This week, at least, there have been rumblings of Marvel's talking about him, and some people seem to think that means a firing. Some people seem to think that it's just, of course, they're talking because the situation isn't resolved.
I talked about this briefly on The Big Thing. Oh, and by the way, if you're in LA, I'm doing stand-up on the 28th with The Big Thing and Christian, all those guys at Flappers. So if you want to see my stand-up, you want to see us do a show over there.
Go get flapping.
It's going to be fun. But we talked about this briefly, or not briefly. It was unfortunately a long talk on The Big Thing because the internet is very interesting in that when I said, I believe women, they thought that was a controversial statement. I think it's really important to look at this as something that is unknown. I'm a huge fan of Jonathan Majors, and I am in a very tricky position looking at this situation because every time I see someone on Twitter go like, this thing happened at Yale, then there's no one backing it up. It's like one guy, and then it's like a week later, like one other person that have nothing to like. I feel like his reputation is being tossed around in a way that is like an open secret of his reputation that I've seen nothing to back up. But at the same time, a woman might have been hurt, and that is never acceptable. So I'm in the position of, if it happened, there have to be ramifications. If it didn't happen, how do you prove the absence of something? I am a very innocent until proven guilty person, but I'm also a woman getting hurt in that situation is always up against a lot of odds because so many people get hurt. There's so much domestic violence in every country. There's so much domestic violence that goes unreported because of what it does to demonize women in particular. So if it happened, I wouldn't want there to be no ramifications. But if it didn't happen, I wouldn't want someone, as they're coming up, that is that talented, that seems to be that good of a guy, to be punished because of something that didn't occur. So this is a no-win scenario. I don't even like talking about it because we don't have enough facts yet. And honestly, it's been really gross to see either side leap to a decision in their own mind of, this is what should happen. You weren't there. I guarantee it. And you don't have enough facts. I can almost guarantee it unless you're working the case. If you're the DA and you're in the chat, you let me know. But unless you have enough facts, it's a really gross thing to make any assumption in any direction. So I'm very consciously neutral with the side of, it's really messed up if it occurred. It's really messed up if it didn't occur, that this is occurring. So I really hope we can find facts, like facts. I don't know if that's a non-answer, but it's a mess that this is happening.
Here's a fact. Michael Dahman in the chat says, art will save the world. Go visit a museum soon. I like that.
Dude, I love that. I definitely think art is the thing that separates us from machines, and that AI is making art that people are purchasing is kind of the most dystopian future thing I've lived through yet, and that's saying a lot because I was born when I was, and I've lived through 30 years of this chaos. But I think art is what makes you feel and separates you from non-sentient thought, and I think art is the only thing that really brings us together as a species. So I think that visiting museums, celebrating art, experiencing communal art experiences, whether that's a concert or a movie or any of those things, is the thing that we're missing. The thing we defund in fascism is art in schools. The thing they don't want you to do is learn and gain knowledge, but they also, in addition to not wanting you to learn and gain knowledge, is they don't want you to appreciate art. They being
don't
people that are taking away, like
critical eye.
Exactly. They don't want like growth of you as a person. So doing what you can to grow as a person is always what I suggest for people to be better.
Grow. Get those emotional gains. And hey, Bryce Burris, apparently one of our comments or one of these comments in the chat led to your super chat. So that makes for a perfect segue into. We'll get there. We're doing these linearly, but segue back to the super chats at very least. And Film It Lee, thank you for your contribution, for joining us on a Saturday. Hey, hope you guys are well. I was wondering if you guys have seen Barry yet on HBO Max, and that actually leads us to another news item.
Max.
Just curious, because the final season starts tomorrow. It's a criminally underrated show. I have caught moments and snippets from Barry, but I am very excited to do a full and comprehensive watch. Greg has raved about it over time, and every little snippet I've seen has been fascinating and delightful and intense. And I very excited, but I haven't seen it just yet. But now that it's coming to an end, I guess I have no excuse but to catch back up. And have you seen any Barry?
I don't love it.
Leave, Cole.
I know. I just said I don't like to talk negatively about art, but if someone asks, I just like I give a show 3 or 4 episodes because there's so much good TV and there's so many good movies to watch that I try a long enough time that I feel like is justified, and that's usually 3 or 4 episodes. And it just wasn't my humor. Something about it just didn't strike. I like everyone involved. I'm especially a big fan of Henry Winkler, but I just couldn't find a connectivity, and I couldn't find something that made me laugh enough to keep going. So I love how much people that love Barry are always like, it's underrated. It's funny because I'm like, is it underrated? Because everyone I know loves it, but I don't know what the ratings are. It is something that a lot of people I admire and appreciate love. It's just not my cup of tea.
Fair enough, Coy. And what I think we might be able to both agree on is the new name of the Discovery Warner streaming service your cup of tea, Coy? Are you excited to spend all of your time watching Max?
You know, I think
Max.
the Goofy movie every time.
It is
I
the
always,
reference, man.
I really do.
It is
and it's
the reference.
it's a
Greg brought it up.
problem.
Every tweet I've seen has brought it up.
I
People
love
are
that much
posting
love.
pictures. They're
that
like,
much
you
love
can't
for Goofy
kill
movie.
Max. Yeah,
like
man.
that's the only good thing to come out of this is that people are talking about Goofy movie. I think that it is a very short-sighted idea to not lean into the Warner Brothers brand, which is 100 years old, one of the oldest studios in the world.
Nah, man, we
Or-
erased Fox from the map. We could do that too.
It's so weird because branding is fought over years and quality. Like you get a brand by earning it, and so it's really weird that the HBO brand, which is quality television, and the Warner Brothers brand, which I think of as movies, but obviously has great TV as well. Warner Brothers is Lethal Weapon, The Matrix. Like Warner Brothers is so many things that I've loved since I was born. And to get rid of both of those things, to be like, let's call it the most vague version of plus possible. Everything tried to be plus, and then the pluses got taken, so they made it a max. And now they got rid of the thing that made the max, and now it's just max. It is preposterous.
And I do think it's, I mean, people have pitched, like, call it like Warner Max or something like that, which I thought that was a decent solution. But also, like, I don't know, HBO carries such a weight as a name. and I
Just
feel
call
like
it HBO.
And it's Warner and Discovery together. Like it almost seems like having this middle entity that already carries all of this clout would be ideal. But
It's
what do I know?
preposterous.
Yeah, it's a real meme of
Just
a
call
choice.
it HBO. Just it's right
call
there.
it freaking HBO.
But you know what? They are getting press. Not the press they want, but at least people are talking about it.
Sure, absolutely. Oh my. I'm not going to bring it up. Never mind. There was something that happened yesterday that brought every single person out of the Twitter woodwork to be disappointed on two opposite sides of an issue, but like with the same disappointment, which I thought was very fun and
I
gratifying.
have no idea what this moment is. Are you going to open
We
this can of worms?
cannot tangent this,
Okay.
but I will say Anheuser-Busch put out a statement,
yeah.
and literally all the people on the progressive side and all the people on the anti-LGBTQ side were both like, this statement says nothing, it addresses no side, it seemed like all you're doing is going like, hey, don't
These
be
are
mad
words.
at me, specifically the CEO of this company. And so, yeah.
That's how you bring people together.
It was a bit
vague
silly.
apologies.
Yeah, I was like, weirdly, everyone's united. Asif's cool too. Oh, you're the first cool, and everyone is cool too around you. Okay, Goose and Flurkin kitties are here to save the MCU. Do you think the Flurkins will? I mean,
Unite us like an Anheuser apology.
Sure.
I think the Flurkins are a great equalizer, and I think Flurkins are beloved, and I am a little biased because Goose looks just like Spidey Cat. So I got a lot of Flurkin love because my baby boy is now a Funko, and I like literally a con I worked at gave me a Goose Funko because he looked like Spidey, and they knew my cat. So I was like, I am forever endeared to this animal. And I think animals in movies are, whether you're heartless or not, something gets you. It's like a core genetic marker that we feel for animals, so it's a smart move.
Absolutely. Got it. I mean, and we're going to have like an army of them, so get that merch. But also, who knows? I mean, they took out Nick Fury's eye. Like,
That's
they
true.
Could do
And
a
that's
going to
be a bigger moment. I think there's something about the Flurkin marking Nick Fury that is going to make the difference between him and a Skrull him. I think something happens with the Flurkin where it was a way that the Flurkin was aware of the Kree-Skrull war to come, and that moment is going to be a big deal in the Marvels. I've got this theory that the Scratch is the thing that ties Secret Invasion to the Marvels.
That's a good call, too.
You heard it
Not
here
bad.
first.
I like it. All right. Okay, let's see who's next. Jeff the Maverick. Hey, guys. Love the DC animated reactions. Thank you so much for the love. We love doing them. But an unrelated question. Good. John, are you going to do more Demon Slayer Season 2 and 3 reactions? The animation is unreal. Yes. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to proceed because... I mean, at least on Patreon, Greg did express some interest in joining me for season 3. But reactions for the first 2 seasons are all up on Patreon, aside from the movie, the Mugen Train movie, which is here on YouTube in its highlights form. But yeah, definitely going to be continuing season 3 as soon as possible. Just a matter of what the arrangements become. But yeah, the animation on that show alone, and just like the way that they're able to, yeah, I mean, it's in a way it's quintessentially anime, but the way they are able to bring out just the intensity of the expression via the animation is really breathtaking on that particular series, and I cannot wait to continue. You should check it out sometime, Ko. It's pretty
So
neat.
many shows.
All the shows. Clear your schedule, man. Just watch. Don't talk.
I looked at my list of shows, and I have 27 shows on the must-watch, and I'm up to 482 movies. Everybody says, like, oh, it's on my list. I actually have a list.
I have a list, and it's big.
Oh, no, when I counted.
Oh God, I pray for you. I shudder to imagine what my list of amalgamated shows I need to see would possibly look like.
I'm 2 weeks behind on Ted Lasso, so you know it's bad. My favorite show on air, I'm behind on. That's how dire it's gotten.
Still got to start season 3.
6 behind on Mando.
Raccoon. Oh, you got treats ahead of you, boy. Raccoon shampoo. If they did Clayface in the Batman universe, do you think they could do some sort of take on deepfakes or find some other way to manifest his shapeshifting abilities in a realistic way? That's a really cool question, Raccoon shampoo. It's funny because from what I understand, perhaps the original, or I know Clayface has many takes and origins in the comics, but one of them, as somebody brought up, I believe last week when we first talked about the idea of Clayface being in the Batman 2, was that maybe they'll go with that more traditional, like he's an actor with many disguises and wardrobes and things like that. And to me, I think that could be fun and interesting, but there's also something like the Matt Reeves universe to me occupies this space where it's grounded, but there's like a little bit of room for height. And I feel like there's also a certain thing, at least not to hold all of his Batman movies to this standard, but the Riddler take suggested to me that, yeah, they're interested in mirroring aspects of our time and aspects of the just tone of of the world we live in now. And so I think something with Clayface and deepfakes or some kind of digital amalgamated element could be an interesting way to bend the character. And then my mind always goes to like those classic film noir things of like, you changed your face. And so like having some kind of weird heightened like plastic surgery angle or something like that, going with, I always think of Dark Passage, but, Marv in Sin City kind of harkens directly to that,
I think they're going to do something like they did with Mysterio and make it like a futurist villain, because I do think the idea of a deepfake is something very present. I think that the Riddler represented exactly when that movie came out, and then like 5 years earlier, I think we've got like the problem with trolls and people feeling like outsiders banding together and vengeance being people's main motivation. And I love that movie goes from Batman being vengeance to Batman being hope, and I think that's a really important arc for people that are just full of rage. I also think we're entering an age of misinformation to a scale that we'll never come back from. I think that we're going into much the same way that vengeance is a present day problem. I think that if you look at the flaws with culture and community, we're all really angry. All of us feel like we're being slighted. All of us feel like we're being wronged by a thing. And so that is the Riddler. I think that the next thing we're about to deal with is we're not going to know what our reality is very soon. We are already entering an age where AI voiceover is it's so close to not recognizable. Like, there are times I can't tell, and I'm really focused on this stuff. There are imagery uses that are already to the point where it's not quite there. You can tell sometimes the eyes, sometimes some of the framework. But if that's the stuff we're already seeing, that means that within a year it's going to be unrecognizable. I think that this is the last election that we're going to actually know what's real and what isn't, and that's still got an asterisk for me. I think there's going to be a lot of people using these tools for much bigger things than entertainment, so I think it's a really smart idea to have a character like Clayface represent the real-world problems of we don't know how bad things are about to get for trust, for belief in systems bigger than ourselves, for talking to people you're not in the actual room with. We're going to be at a point in the next 5 years where someone can call you on FaceTime and you might think it's your mom and it's not. Like, we're about to enter a really terrifying time where
Max Headroom timeline.
Voicemails are going to be useless.
Sure.
Texts are already useless because obviously you don't see the person writing it, but it's going to be as vague as a text, and that's around the corner. So I think in the same way, like he said, the Riddler being about the time, I think Clayface can represent that, and I think it's a really important thing when dealing with the Batman, who represents identities. A lot of people's big complaint about the Batman was Bruce Wayne wasn't in it enough. That's because Bruce Wayne doesn't exist yet. In this continuity, Bruce Wayne isn't formed because he makes the mask that is Bruce Wayne to cope with society. In this world, he's a recluse in a cave. He hasn't made the public persona of Bruce Wayne yet, so that's going to be the mask he develops. What better character to parallel Bruce Wayne making his mask than Clayface?
Absolute vodka. Real quick from the chat, Gilmer Eric Smith says Luke Evans is Batman and Jared Harris is Alfred. I will take Jared Harris in anything. All right, I love Jared Harris, and I would like it. I would check out his Alfred for sure. I'm gonna throw you a real quickie before we hop back into some super chats, but Marvel Comics Virtual Reality Fitness says Marvel Comics are better than the movies. Agree? Disagree? Go.
I think that different genres have different strengths. I think that the movies, I know that's a lawyer answer, but I think the movies allow for you to connect with an actor's history that you have with the actor. When an actor's playing a role, it allows you to go like, oh, I love that person, or oh, I love their other work, and you consciously or subconsciously connect to the character because of the actor. I think comic books are a different medium where you get the strength of the writer and the artist directly communicating to your soul. There's less cooks. But because of that, some people don't connect, and therefore you're not. If you don't like the first comic you pick up with a character, sometimes you stop. And whereas a movie, you've got a lot more data to play with. So I think that Marvel comics and Marvel movies can't really be compared because they're playing on different aspects of your personality.
For sure. Annalise Zirksquill. I'm trying so hard. I'm sorry, but wants to see Professor Pig in the Batman too.
Yeah, I've actually got a fan cast for that.
Ooh, who's
I think
big?
Hayden Christensen would be really fun.
Ooh.
Because he's got such a darkness to him, but he's got an inherent handsomeness. So I love the idea of someone trying to make people into these abominations with the darkness that they have. And I think that I'd love to see Hayden, much like John Boyega, I want a redemption.
Yeah,
like I want him to get a franchise where I'm like, love on him.
Which Obi-Wan attempted
dabbled
to do,
it.
but
It
yeah,
dabbled, but out of that
you
universe.
want the dunk. Yeah,
Yeah.
you want the dunk. And oh, that's right, Bryce Burris, The Boys season 4 just wrapped filming. Excited, I saw the Jack Quaid looking all bloody and giving a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And Louis Barry says, if not Irons, would love to see a Richard E. Grant Alfred. I love that. And Spaceman up there, Coy is spitting.
I got Clayface thoughts.
Yes, he is. Hold that Clayface thought. I'm sure we can address it. But hey, let's look at Film Italy back in the soups. Oh, man. Thank you for contributing. Did you guys manage to watch Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves? It's surprisingly good and hope it doesn't flop. Would love more D&D movies. I feel like that would probably be a reaction for this channel, so I have not seen it as of yet. You have seen it, though,
loved
sir,
it.
and I'm so excited. I've heard nothing but good.
I saw it. I actually interviewed the writer-director duo, John Goldstein and John Francis Daly, who are delightful. We actually had like a full 20-minute chat, which was really, really wonderful. Usually junkets are like 4 minutes. You have 2 questions. Leave. So I actually got to talk with these guys, which was wonderful because I consider them and Lord and Miller metamodernist masters, and metamodernism is a study of art that means the world to me. I reference it a lot. It's kind of my favorite thing in culture right now. And these guys, I feel like with Game Night, with this, with their take on Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, have really figured out how to be futurists with comedy. Comedy's a really hard thing, especially right now, because comedy is something that is such a piece of taking a snapshot of the time it's released. That's why people are like, oh, that wouldn't get made today. It's not about that. It's because that was what the culture was at the time. So I think they are uniquely good at thinking a year ahead, and I think Dungeons & Dragons is as impactful as the Kelvin Universe Star Trek film was. Whether you like that film or not, it changed how movies were made. It changed the impact of a lot of things, and I think Dungeons & Dragons, which was #1 in the box office for the first week and I think a half, is exceedingly doing well because they're able to see that turn, and I think it's one of the best franchise starters I've seen in years. Very good. And this is as someone that has best friends in Dungeons & Dragons that has never played it. And I know a lot of people think I'd be great at it, which I take as a compliment, but I have 37 shows to watch.
I'm excited to finally play someday. I really am. I've heard people, first-timers. In fact, I think Greg a few months ago came back and was like, I played for the first time, and it seemed daunting at first, but it was a lot of fun. So
yeah.
I'm very, I feel like that's the art form is like you need somebody who can jump you in with like here's a not too overwhelming story or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I get, this is just a gut feeling because I know that there's been some speculation of like, is it doing well enough to get a sequel? But something just feels to me like, enough people like this. There's enough like positive energy surrounding the people involved with the movie, the people taking in the movie. I feel like the franchise itself has potential to be one of those that, doesn't make like the craziest financial dunk, but does well enough to be like, nah, let's bolster this and do some more.
Everyone seems so happy making it. It feels like Yes and the movie. Like it feels like people were having joy in improv, which is impressive to film a thing that feels like the script was improv, that somehow the visual effects are improv. They actually like it's impossible for it to be improv, and yet it has that spontaneity, which makes the joy of watching it and the joy of being on set magic.
I love that. Ariane Kanani in the chat. I don't know. I'll try to get all the Facebook moms to stop thinking I'm
It's on you. It's on you. Also, I have a review up on my YouTube page, which I never plug on here because I'm at Reject Nation, but I do have reviews up for stuff that I don't do with these guys over there.
Watch 10 Koi videos on this channel and then go watch 1 video on Koi's
That's
channel.
a fair balance. I support that.
That's the ratio we're aiming for here. Donkey teeth. that. If that's a Key and Peele reference, I'm here for it all day, every day. I do wonder, at what point are there too many heroes to do them all justice? I want to see every hero in live action, but how many is too many? Is there a too many? I am very curious about this because I feel like we are at an interesting crossroads in that more than ever, what's fun and cool is that we are having to dig past the most obvious and most iconic characters, which I think can highlight both the breadth of imagination but also the breadth of overlap. So I think I don't know. I think that ultimately it always comes back to me that any character can be done justice with just the right take and the right approach. So part of me feels like, I mean, yeah, you could theoretically bring in as many as you want. If it worked in the comics, I feel like it can work on screen. And I feel like they've translated. There are a lot of ways in which these TV shows and movies have come great strides in emulating how comic storytelling works. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I think that there's a movie coming out this year called The Killer. It is David Fincher directing, Michael Fassbender and Tilda Swinton, I believe. And nobody knows it's a comic movie. And that's okay because it is a David Fincher movie about a French comic. And that my example there is that it doesn't have to be known to be a comic movie. It is a medium that's being adapted. You don't I've never heard a single person in the history of filmmaking go, there's too many movies based on books. It's just like anything else. It's a thing that is a story that someone wants to make into a new medium. There is no reason to think that any medium being translated into another medium. Have you ever thought, man, there's too many samples in hip hop? No, songs turn into other things. Things evolve. Things get remixed. I don't like that there's too much of jazz in my rock. That's not how it works. It's an evolution of a medium. So I don't think that's the case. I do think a style of adaptation to superhero is a problem. I think that if everything looks the same, if everything feels the same, if everything has a 3-act Jungian structure, if everything feels like you know how it's going to end, that's a problem. But that's a problem in all movies. That's a problem in movies because we're battling this constant thread of I want to know what happens next, which is why trailers with spoilers do well, versus I want to be surprised by the experience. And thus, you've got to fight these two things. So film often juggles that familiarity with the uncertainty. So I don't think it's about making comic characters. I think it's about making good characters.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's ultimately what I think people get lost in the weeds sometimes. I think it was George R. I'm sure many people have said this. I think it was George R. R. Martin in the anecdote I'm about to relate, but people, asking how do you write such and such a kind of character? I think in this particular instance, it was how do you write strong female characters? And the piece of advice was just write a good character. just imagine your character is just a human and write them as best you can, and that's how you do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, at a certain point, you
just write a good character.
Write a good character.
He followed up. I want to make sure we give that credit. I meant more of if you introduce every character in comics into live action, you can't do it in shows and movies to keep them all alive, so to speak.
Sure.
I totally understand what you're saying there. I do think that you need to give a character enough time to be good. I use Cyclops as an example all the time because Cyclops is a very, very well fleshed out character when the right writer writes him. But even in the comic books, he's not fleshed out enough a lot of the time. So it needs to be a focus on what you want that character to do as the tapestry of the whole movie. If you want them to be a lead, yeah, they need more than that. But we're also getting shows and movies. There's plenty of time. I don't think every character to be adapted because comics have been around for 60 years. But I see what you're saying about like mainstream characters and whatnot. I think they need to focus on what the story is they're trying to tell multiversally and singularly before they decide who to adapt and be loyal to that story. And that's mapping the 10 years out like Kevin Feige had been doing. And I think the timing of expanding the multiverse hitting alongside a real-life pandemic threw that off, but I think it's coming back together.
Absolutely. Louis Barry, hope to get, thank you also, by the way, for hanging out with us and for contributing to the chat. Hope to get Cavill's Soups and Momoa's Aquaman cameos in The Flash with Pfeiffer's Catwoman, Cage's Soups, and a Wilson Bethel as Reverse Flash. Wilson Bethel.
That's fun. He's Bullseye.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Sure.
Yeah, he's
definitely.
a very fantastic actor. Went out for Captain America. It always fascinates me. He was almost Cap. He actually put the suit on.
Alternate timeline,
Right?
boy. I mean, what do you think the likelihoods of all these things are?
I'd say Cavill Soups is unlikely. I think it's a thing that's shot and it's out there, but we'll never see it.
Yeah. That's got to have been cut ages ago.
I think Momoa's Aquaman's going to get screened first, and we'll see how the screening goes. I think that Pfeiffer's Catwoman is very unlikely, but I would be very happy. Like, that's the one I want most. As much as I love Cavill, I just don't think it's going to happen. I want Pfeiffer's Catwoman most. Cage's Soups is a reserve for Teen Titans, but I love this. I love this support.
I'm Cage's Soups all day. I don't feel like it'll be cheeky enough to go with that. But weirdly, I could see it being the kind of thing where, like, the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, if she doesn't appear, I could foresee them doing some kind of cheeky thing where it's like a photo, or Michael Keaton mentions her offhand, or like when he exits the picture in one way or another, like she's off. In the
I hope that they stay together.
Yeah.
My headcanon is Tim Burton, Catwoman, Bruce for days.
Oh, dude. Oh, man.
That
is just a magic portrayal of Michelle Pfeiffer. Like the only thing that makes me wonder is if they really were developing that Batman Beyond movie, I could see maybe her being involved in some way.
That'd be cool.
But wishful thinking, man. That's all it is right now. Jeff Carroll, 1 of 4. Ooh, here we go. First, critics of the Marvels. Iman Vellani is a national treasure, so shove it. So if you're in the chat critiquing, you heard what he said.
Yeah.
Second, your thoughts on some of my fan casts? Here we go. Marvel, Angela, Catherine Winnick.
Oh, interesting.
And Beta Ray Bill, Christopher Judge. Yo, Angela, who's the boss?
I really like your Catherine Winnick. I want Beta Ray Bill to have like some extreme accent. But like, I honestly wanted Christian Bale to play Beta Ray Bill because I thought Christian Bale being
Bring
Welsh,
that Welsh accent.
like that'd be really fun for a Welsh Beta Ray Bill. So I Christopher Judge works in that vein, but it's not quite what I hear personally. But Catherine Winnick as Angela, I adore because she is very talented and very intense and wonderful.
Absolute vodka. Let me see here really quick. Okay, so Jeff,
Jeff went hard on the paint. Like that is an intense bevy.
Okay,
Let's keep it going.
No, let's do Bo really quick.
Okay.
This is just some love, I believe. Bo Sumner, really quick before we get back to Jeff. Hey guys, and thank you for this very generous contribution as well. So thank you for joining us. Hey guys, I just wanted to say I love your enthusiasm and kindness. I use you like kindness.
Who do you think you are?
Insert ironic joke here. I use a wheelchair, so movies are my escape, and seeing your love for movies makes me feel better about loving movies so much. Oh, that means the world. Thank you. That's the goal. I mean,
That's why we're here.
Yeah, even when the topic of conversation isn't always the most positive, at the same time, I feel like we do try to lead with that love, and I'm glad that it communicates, and I'm glad that I'm glad that you're able to, engage in such a vivid passion, and to share that with us means a lot, and just the fact that movies are able to bring you some of that relief too, and that escape and that, color, I'm glad that we can kind of commune around that.
I think the internet should be that, right? Like, I think passion and anything that's like coming from a place of good, anything that's not harming others, anything that's not violent, anything that's like a net positive. If you can find more passion in finding other people connecting through the power of the internet to find more passion about anything, that's the beautiful thing that this weird technology should be, is just finding more joy digitally every day. So I'm honored we can do that for you.
Digijoy. All right, 2 of 4 for Jeff Carroll. Here we go. All right, we got Dr. Doom, Hugh Laurie, or Jeremy Strong.
I like both of those. I do feel like Hugh Laurie is a little bit. I don't know if I buy the physicality. You could obviously just do the voice, and he could be in another suit. But I kind of would love if whoever is in it is both, because like the way you emote when you're moving in a frame, sometimes you can tell someone's voice acting, even if they're moving in the booth. I want someone physically there. And Doom is Doom. So I think I want someone physically in the space that also is the voice. So that's personally my take there.
Jeremy Strong is just going to be on set pissing Brian Cox off.
Just antagonizing.
Method acting shenanigans. I'd be curious. Yeah, I feel like Hugh Laurie might be a little. He might be a little too old. I feel like, I don't know. Like Jeremy Strong, I think would be interesting. I feel like his character, the bits of Succession I've seen, he's such a weasel.
Yeah, and like Doom is the opposite.
Yeah, and not to say he can't play that.
Sure.
But yeah, it would be a pleasant surprise to see the take, come to life if he were to be cast. Nightcrawler, Tom Lashiha.
This person I do not know. I'm going to totally own that. I will.
Let's go really
not
quick.
claim Tom Lashiha. All the vowels again. Very cool name.
Absolutely. Oh, he's a German actor.
This
yes,
guy!
yes. All right.
Tom Lashiha.
A man has no name.
Yeah, he's cool as hell.
And homie from Stranger Things 4 as well.
And he was so good in Stranger Things. Like, he was so captivating immediately.
Oh, I loved him in that.
Yeah. I always saw Nightcrawler younger. This dude, is going to be starting. He was born in 73. I think they're going to go. I could see them doing the Claremont era reimagining of X-Men as like some of the teachers, and then that would totally work. But I really want, like I said at the top, to have a younger cast we grew up with, like Harry Potter.
And then we had Anya Taylor-Joy for Polaris.
Anya Taylor-Joy was so perfect as Magic Man. Like, I want her to just like somehow come back. She was perfect.
Okay.
And Polaris is Kristen Stewart.
Yeah,
but if not, then she's great.
And then Sabretooth Alexander Skarsgård. You see that?
Especially after the Northman with that build he got. He is
Ooh.
absolutely ready for that.
Whew.
Yeah. Tell you what, I got to train with his trainer.
No wonder.
This is brought to you by the Northman.
Soon you and Greg are going to be in these news chats, just like full on like oiled tank tops, just like looking like you're at Muscle Beach or some shit like that.
You know what's funny? A while ago, I did a photo shoot that is me like flexing shirtless that looks just like the Beast from James McAvoy, and someone put them together, and it's like one of the things that pop up when you Google me. Like, it was popular enough, it took off. But I didn't realize that Magnus Rydbeck, who I trained with very briefly, is the guy that trained McAvoy for the Beast. So in Florida, he and I were talking about Magnus. Like, we started talking about physiques and build, and Magnus came up, and I was like, this is an insane moment where I'm talking to the guy that I got memed about our physiques,
Beasts.
and Magnus. So shout out to
be
Magnus.
Hanging out.
It was a moment.
Absolutely. Oh my God, dude.
Tiny world. What a moment. Like, insane.
Oh yeah, Macaboys over there.
The Macaboys.
Macacoy. Toad, Kieran Culkin. That's fun.
Love that.
That's great.
That's a solid one, man. These are good.
Do you know what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning?
It turns into a Culkin.
It does. It does. And it's been fun to see his star rise too. Wolverine.
Scott Pilgrim loved too.
Yeah. Oh my God. That was the first movie that really kind of clicked him in my mind, and he's so great in that. Oh my God. I love his deadpanness in that movie. Wolverine, Jensen Ackles.
Okay.
You'll have more comprehensive thoughts about this. I feel like I like the idea a lot, but I don't know if I don't know. I'm not sure.
I love all your casting. I'm gonna preface that, but Jensen Ackles will have the same issue with Wolverine should look like he smells awful. Wolverine should be repugnant, but somehow like you want, like, Jean still has to lust after him, but because he's the dichotomy of Cyclops, it should be like, I know this is bad, I know this is wrong, but it's his darkness and his edge and his feralness that calls to me. He should look stinky. Jensen Ackles is actually a really great Cyclops. Like, Jensen Ackles would be a great leading man that has a little darkness, that is always going to choose to be the leader even at cost. And so I think Jensen Ackles would be a great Batman. He'd be a great Cyclops, but he's got a little bit too much of that I'm all-American, like, perfect to be a guy that says bub believably to me. I want him cigar-chomping, feral, hairy.
I just love all these descriptors.
But great cast.
Yeah. And it's funny, I hadn't considered who'd you say who was
Edgar Ramirez is mine.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And I know he's a little tall, but
who'd you say Jensen Ackles should play that's not Batman?
Cyclops.
That would
I
be
think
cool.
It'd be incredible.
Because that's the thing is for him, like, I'm used to Dean Winchester and stuff like that, and obviously Soldier Boy now, but I feel like I would want, if he jumps into one of these universes, I would want it to be something a little. Cyclops sounds like the less like I heard you say that and I went, oh, whereas Wolverine, it feels like, okay, parts of this feel like, like a, not an obvious choice, but just like one of those names that would be thrown around for this, but who my metal detector says not quite perfect. Could do it, certainly. I would enjoy watching, but not quite clicking.
And by the way, Edgar Ramirez smells lovely. We did stunts once together. He's perfectly, but he looks like
he smelled better after the stunts.
That's just an aromaticness. But he also like looks like some guy that if you see an opening shot of him like on the floor of a single wide mobile home, and then he like pops his claws and just like, to me, the Edgar Ramirez has that like guy you wouldn't want to pick him up hitchhiking, and that's important. Whereas Jensen Ackles would be like, "I'm gonna take this risk."
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even though you can assume that Dean Winchester probably smells bad, you don't factor that in,
No, it doesn't come up when you're lusting.
No, you just, your brain still makes you imagine that he smells amazing. Okay, so we got more casting. DC Beast Boy Jaden Martell. I stood feet away from him at the Shazam premiere.
I'm into this Jaden Martell pick.
I like him.
He's the right age. He should be a boy. It's Beast Boy. I like his skills as an actor, so I'm into that.
And then we got Alexander Ludwig for Booster Gold.
Man, I don't know his work, but I recognize his face.
This guy, he was in Bad Boys for Life.
I recognize him younger. He was in Race to Witch Mountain.
Sure.
I remember. That's why I know that. That's so funny. What a pull for my weird brain. He was also in Stephen Amell's Heels. Okay, yeah, I know this guy. Yeah, I personally don't know his work enough for that, but if you like him, I'm into it.
Okay, Cyborg, we got Michael B. Jordan, which that would be a direct rip from a couple of the animated joints, actually.
That'd be fun, man.
We had a Michael B. Cyborg in one of those.
Yeah, the athleticism, the cockiness, but like the leadership qualities, I'm into that.
That's one where it's like, this seems like a go-to choice, but I would be like, yeah, makes perfect sense.
There it is.
And probably because I've already heard him do it. But Green Arrow, Jake Gyllenhaal.
I would say Kyle Rayner more than Hal Jordan for that, because Green Arrow works for Oliver Queen and all those things, but I feel like Green Arrow's got a bit of a no, I take it back. He has a humor that Jake Gyllenhaal does have, and that actually does work for me. Just for some reason, I can't picture it. Like, it doesn't come to my mind's eye, but like his attributes work, so I'd have to see it, but I'm in.
I would have to see if he could transform. I associate the Green Arrows and I haven't seen the Stephen Amell take as much, but I associate the Green Arrow with having that sort of like Errol Flynn-ness, and so that's what I would need to kind of see him access, I guess. Not to pigeonhole. I guess I would want. I hear Gyllenhaal and DC. I think like give him like a wild character or something.
Yeah,
like that,
let him go prisoners, Jakey Jakes.
Yeah,
let
give
him like
somebody
play
crazy or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we got Green Lantern, Jon Stewart, Chiwetel Ejiofor.
That's fun. I definitely think he's got the chops. I don't know if he'd want to commit to a role for like 10 years like that. He doesn't seem like a franchise guy, but I'd be interested.
I feel like, I would like to see him somewhere in here. But yeah, I feel like you would also need a slightly younger actor at this point. Impulse Lucas Hedges.
Oh, that's an interesting pull. He was exceptional in Honey Boy. He's a really good actor that pops up a lot.
Yeah.
I definitely think he has the darkness for Impulse, and he's got the humor. If you've never seen Manchester by the Sea, dude is like terrifyingly good. I'm into that. I like that one.
All right, hells yeah. And then we got the last one. Help me with this pronunciation, Mr.
Mixie-Plitlick.
Mixip.
That's how I've always pronounced it. I obviously have never heard it said, but Mixer. He's the guy that you have to say his name to get him to go away. He's that little like impish demon guy, and he's like a Superman bad guy.
I want it.
Mr. Mixie-Plitlick could be a really fun Superman.
Him
villain.
and Batmite teaming up.
Yeah,
let's do it. And Taika Waititi is the fan cast. What do you think?
I'm into it. You need someone that's going to be a little nefarious. That voice is definitely nefarious. I'm into that.
A little impish. Well, and that could also bring. I feel like there has been sort of an odd. Taika's role in the public sphere is kind of altered over time. Hollywood Taika's, people have their feelings about Hollywood Taika, and so I feel like this could
be a fun way to let him play.
Yeah, and to kind of turn that tide a little bit, give him somebody who we're not supposed to directly like, but like watching. Raven, Jenna Ortega.
Oh, that's fun. That's definitely like leaning into the Wednesday of it all, and I like that. Jenna Ortega is definitely like. She's such a rising star. I'm actually surprised she hasn't been announced as anyone yet, because like I feel like every studio is like, we need Jenna Ortega. So I love that.
Yeah, and that would be a Titans character, right? So like her and Sholo playing off each other, and whoever else.
Little Timmy Chalamet as Robin.
I mean, as much as he is like one of those go-to names everyone wants to cast and everything.
But if you want to sell the Teen Titans, you get those names.
No, you do, and yeah, I can totally see
so much
Chalamet
fun.
doing a pretty good, especially if they're going Damien. Flash, if they're recast, Taron Egerton.
Everyone, like, I feel like Taron Egerton's the most cast man of all time, like fan cast. I love that for him because he's great, but I never thought of Flash.
No, I never did either. It's funny, he doesn't. I feel like you do need like kind of a tall actor to be Flash, like a kind of tall, slightly less.
He's bulky.
He's bulky.
He's my build and height. Like Taron Egerton is
a bit of a thick boy.
I'm not a runner.
Sure.
Taron Egerton is actually closer to Wolverine for me. But he's got the humor, so he's an optimistic guy.
Sure. And then Jason Clarke for Reverse Flash.
Oh, I like Jason Clarke a lot.
Me too.
I definitely don't know if he's an actor. I don't know if he'd want a franchise role because it's what Terminator did.
After Terminator,
That's
why
my
would he
point.
not?
He'd be a really interesting Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like that would match his age bracket for this a bit more. Like I could see him almost in an alternate universe having been Zod or something.
Yeah, that's fun. I like that.
Yeah. So, but not bad. These are solid fan
Solid
casts,
fan
dude.
casts,
I love
man.
I love a good fan cast.
Enjoyed that mega breakdown.
And these were lovely. Maybe at some point I'll bust out my DC, my Justice League fan cast if I can find it efficiently enough. Let's move on to Raccoon Shampoo. Very random. Very thank you. I really think the Flash creation, Keaton's cowl, would feel really satisfying to touch. It looks like very smooth material. I agree. It does have this like rubbery thing that doesn't work against it in a weird way.
I definitely think that Batsuit inspired a lot of fetishes. So I
bet it did.
definitely think you're right, and I think Michelle Pfeiffer thinks the same.
Oh, much agreed. And she's actually had the pleasure of touching it.
True.
So,
And her catsuit did a lot of awakening as well.
Oh, hello there. Aisha Kenya, happy Saturday to you. Thank you for the love and contribution. Thank you for being here and for always being here. I feel like you are one of our most dedicated regs in here, and I appreciate you very much. What DC character? I almost said, oh no, there is Christmas in here. All right, what DC characters would you like to see in their own Christmas special? I want to see a Doom Patrol Christmas special. Doom Patrol Christmas. Let's do that. If there hasn't been one already.
Because it's canon and it's ridiculous, I want to see Lobo fight Santa. It's happened.
And then Kiss has to swoop in and say,
yeah,
sure.
So yeah, I also it'd be really cool to see like green and red characters, like Green Lantern and Flash. Like it'd be fun to see like their visual manifestations of powers. Like I don't think that's ever been done to scale, like that fun comiciness. I'd love to see Green Lantern and Flash do like a Christmas team up just because they're green and red.
Sure.
Like dumb stuff like that. Like it's time.
Some weird reason the Justice League is like,
they're
guys,
all away.
We need you two. It's the holidays, and you guys got to be the beacon of peace.
Like
and
Sinestro
justice.
and Reverse Flash like team up as villains. Like it's something that linear, but then you've got an optimistic Flash with Barry, and then you've got like Hal Jordan being all like proud. Like I think it'd be great.
And then you could do every possible holiday just by pairing them off by colors.
Into it.
I love it. Yeah, and I also think what was I gonna? Damn it! Oh, I had a good one. I want a very Constantine Christmas.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I want to see
decorating the house of mystery, and then just all they're trying to do is celebrate Christmas, and a bunch of demonic shit keeps getting in the
every
way.
time you plant something, it's setting an incantation though, so they have to decorate the house properly to like set
Yes.
like a certain summoning thing.
Yeah.
I also want to see Joker steal the Batmobile, and like I want to see the live action version of the jingle. Like the Batman song from our childhood.
That is a great
adapted
idea.
to live action.
Oh my god, the Christmas special one is just
But it's like Pattinson's Gloomy the Batman at Christmas. Like and Barry Keoghan.
Robin, poor Robin.
Yes.
What is going to happen to Why? How is he going to lay that egg?
Oh, it's got to happen.
Oh my god, I love this. Sound off in the comments with your ideal DC Christmas special. And a quick, actually, just one very brief. Let's keep it quick because we do have to get to the rest of the super chats before we skedaddle. We're getting close to the end of the stream here, but how do you think Blue Beetle will be incorporated moving forward in the DCU? And do you think it is contingent on its success? Yeah.
I do. I think that Blue Beetle has the interesting spot of being either the like half included or not included. I think that if it does well, there's a shot in the Blue Beetle trailer with all of the Blue Beetle, the old Blue Beetle suits. The very last shot, Greg actually pointed out to me that there's like the 3 suits in the background. So this could be like in the future Blue Beetle, and then Booster Gold could be a show set in the 80s with the other Blue Beetle. Like there's elements of time you could use. Because I also think it'd be really interesting to have a commentary on consumerism and Blue Beetle being a proud man from the future if he was from our present and he goes back to the 80s. There's things you could do that would allow Blue Beetle to play, but I do think that the movie itself would need to do well enough to bring Sholo in because there are elements that I think are going to have to be reshot or have already been reshot that tied to the old DCEU. So I think it's a movie in between worlds.
Okay, gonna do a quick tandem of little comments here because there's a good chain of them in the chat. Taron Egerton might be better as Green Arrow. Actually, I like that a lot.
That's fun. I like that.
quite a bit. Evan Peters, Lex Luthor would be good.
Guy's just always playing villains.
Teetering on Eisenberg territory, but I would love to see what Evan Peters would do with that.
I want to see him as Mr. The guy with the scars. Zaz. Victor Zaz Evan Peters.
Let Evan Peters rest. Okay. I would love that too, though. I loved what Chris Messina did, but I would love to see Evan Peters as Zaz. Hus D 21 says, I'd rather see Anthony Starr's Reverse Flash. He gets cast a lot, and this is probably the first one I have been like, okay, maybe I would like that.
I like him as Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
He's got that Cheshire grin.
Sure.
And him versus Mahershala.
Yes. Oh, do it. All day, every day. Timothy Chalamet, Homo erectus, says, is the barbecue sauce of Hollywood. Great
Put it on
comment.
anything. Makes it better.
Yep. And Gilmer Eric Smith, Joe Keery as Wally, a.k.a. best version of Flash.
You know, Joe Keery is actually my backup booster gold if Billy Magnuson doesn't want it.
Boogie.
But I love Wally West getting some love, and Joe Keery would be a perfect Wally. I agree.
Dude, I think anytime we can heap some love, go check out some of his Joe music as well, like his tunes Quit a Bit. Just checking up on the Streamlabs. We good over there. Let's hop back to the supers. Shills WW, thank you for joining us in shilling for these various properties and for the moment of silence. Very much appreciated. David Wright, thank you for joining in the chat as well. Do you think we will ever see the live-action Dark Knight Returns adaptation? Enjoying your animated reactions. You should check it out. And hello from Scotland. Hello to Scotland. Got a couple of Celtic boys in the room.
Yeah, that's right.
Although you're more Irish generally.
More Irish
but
generally.
But
you know.
we both got the Scottish in there. It's good.
Celtic
do you
love.
think we'll see a live action Dark Knight
Not
Returns?
for a long time. I think that they did as close to it as comfy with Batman, with Ben Affleck. So I think that if you let a Batman you cast now age a bit, it'd be a really interesting take. I also think that if they do multiverse and Elseworlds and stuff like that, maybe it'll be a different Batman altogether. Might be a good way to have Jeffrey Dean Morgan get to play. But I don't think that's anytime soon because we've had something similar and they really need to branch out. I think The Batman and Batman Brave and the Bold are already two different takes, and they need to get those stronger first.
Yeah, and I mean, for what that story necessitates, I almost feel like it would be... I almost feel like you need a more isolated world to do something like that, which kind of is
counter to what they
don't
already
really
have.
I don't really see it as part of what Pattinson's doing at the moment,
Right.
and I don't really see it as being what they want to do for Brave and the Bold, unless they start that off with Batman returning, but then it's going to be like conflicted in terms of what adaptation it's trying to be. So
Yeah, I don't see that happening soon.
yeah. A99, thank you so much for chiming in once again. Glad Multiverse of Madness has fans. Hope Marvel can win me back too. Aw, damn. Well, hey, I mean,
think Guardian's going to be great.
yeah, and I mean, comment in the chat. What would it take for them to win you back? Is there anything in particular, or is it just you're just waiting for that one that gives you, that ineffable, just like, nah, I'm back. That's the one. And TKO Dave, they do not only read if you pay.
We just get as many as we can. There's a lot.
But yeah, a lot of people joined in, and we want to make sure that their time is honored. So we do our best to jump between you guys out here. We do our best to show some love to all forms of the chat, and we're reading we got the whole thing right here.
Detective Chimp Home Alone.
Ollie O'Donoghue, Detective Chimp Home Alone is exactly the kind of special I hope the DC.
What was that movie? Dustin Checks In. Dunstan. What was that kids movie with like a chimp home alone? I think there was like a Dunstan. What was it? Was like it was super 90s. Let's see if I just made up a fever dream.
Dunstan checks in. Wow.
Jason Alexander, Faye Dunaway.
I had no idea this even existed.
Okay, what's the plot? Am I crazy, or is this about like an ape on the run alone? A 4-star hotel is up. Okay, let's see.
A 4-star hotel.
Yo, the 90s were crazy.
Run by Jason Alexander. A young boy befriends a larcenous orangutan in a luxury hotel.
Writes itself.
Yes.
It writes itself.
Oh my God. Well, hey, let's get that one going.
Bring this tone back with Detective Chimp.
I think it's about 90s nostalgia is part of the salad right now.
96, man. Weird times.
Bryce Burris shouts out and thank you for contributing and for holding it down in the main chat as well. Odds they kill off Kang and make Doom the Avengers 6 villain. Up in the air. I feel like I don't know. I mean, I almost feel like they would recast sooner than...
It ain't called the Doom Dynasty.
Yeah, and I feel like unless I could only see him appearing there if he was already slated to appear there. I don't think
I also
that
think
kind of pivot is what they're going to do.
Doom has done multiversal stuff, but not to the scale of Kang. Like right now, they need the multiverse has exploded. They need to bring it back in. I think before Doom. So
Sure.
I don't think it works for the story they're telling yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Christian. Oh no, Jeff Carroll. Here we go. Forgot one more fan cast. It's good. I'm glad you're being comprehensive. We would expect no less. Caitlin Deaver as Jean Grey.
Oh, I love and your next line is actually my fan cast, which is funny. She is my Kitty Pryde. Caitlin Deaver is very talented, and I think she's got so much heart that she was able to keep up with like George Clooney and Julia Roberts. If you guys didn't see that rom-com, it was delightful. What's it called? I forget. It's not in her main movies. It was cute. But like Caitlin Deaver is very, very good. I would love to see her leading something, and I think personally, Kitty Pryde is more how I see her because Kitty Pryde has this chip on her shoulder because of like she literally becomes a pirate in the post Hoxpox run, and she has sacrificed herself by like staying in a bullet in the Astonishing X-Men run. She's always like kind of a loner. Like she's got this thing. Actually, they were gonna make this a movie. The last thing that got canceled in the Fox X-Men movies, there was this thing called X-186, I think it was, and it was going to be an adaptation of the Christmas issue of Kitty Pryde fighting like a demon with her dragon. Lockjaw and her fighting like a demon at Christmas. They were going to make a Christmas X-Men movie.
Okay.
And that was one of the last things Fox had to cancel. And
Oh, wow.
I've always thought like, yeah, Kitty Pryde would be a great lead because she does like loner stuff a lot. To me, Caitlin Deaver has more of that loner quality than the team leader Jean Grey quality. Not that she couldn't play it, but I see Jean Grey as more of a Sophia Lillis than Caitlin Deaver.
Absolutely. People fan casters, Kitty, but watch Dope Sick. She can play Tortured in a Conflict perfectly. Okay, I'll check out some Dope Sick. I've heard good things. Let's see here. Christian Unpronounceable. I would love a script written by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. Just for
a
any
script.
Just for any DC thing.
I don't know what we were talking about before. I probably tied into what we were saying at the time,
Yeah,
which is now
let me
a
go
mystery.
back and see what we got from Christian just to see what the connective tissue if it's related to your previous comment. But
I also don't know those writers.
Let's look these writers up really quick. And there's been a lot of like writing switcheroos and stuff like that, or at least writing announcements happening on the Marvel side. Are you feeling confident about these changes? Like they just got one of the guy who was heavy working on the script for Avatar 2 to come in and work on what was that?
Is it King Dynasty?
Fantastic
I think it was?
Four.
Oh, Fantastic Four. Yeah, because I was like,
Yeah,
they're
and
definitely
then-
going to
and
have
then
Johnny
Blade, new
Storm's going to
writers
say a
and all
lot
that
of
stuff.
cuz and bro now.
Yes,
It's going to be a lot, 80% uptick of cuz. I think Avatar 2, its heart is better than its writing. I love the idea of the biggest blockbuster ever being about, respecting your planet you live on. But I don't necessarily think of the writing as like, oh my God, the writing in Avatar. So like they don't really inspire more or less hope. I really just am in a position of wait and see with what Phase 5 ends up shaking out as.
Hells yeah. I guess Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman.
Oh, they
are,
read books together.
are-
Dragons of Autumn Night.
Ooh, interesting.
So
okay.
like fantasy books, it looks like, by the cover.
I mean, yeah, I bet that could be really cool. I mean, coming out of novels to screenplays, if that's kind of the direction we're going, is certainly, they're different beasts, but especially, I mean, I imagine to write these kinds of novels, not that I know the quality of them, but especially if you're suggesting them, I would assume that their writing is quality. And yeah, to write fantasy like that, I mean, you've got to be able to command a lot of lore and characters, and that's thick, I would argue. So that could be very interesting. Especially, I don't know if there's maybe getting into the more magical side of the DCU. Some of that Justice League dark kind of stuff. Just scrolling through here really quick. But yeah, are you confident in some of these writing updates that Marvel has had? Because I've seen some people online being like, these Rick and Morty writers and stuff, they all suck. But I don't know. Like
Michael Waldron also wrote Loki. So right now he's batting 500 for me. Because I didn't love the writing in Multiverse, but that was a studio-influenced decision by a lot of turns. And I do think Loki was genius.
Yeah, I feel like the writers of these movies especially are kind of put in a difficult position because so much is, I'm sure, especially not up to them, and I'm sure that like what you've written will be rewritten either by you or somebody or by another writer. And so like I think actually pulling in, I feel like the online sentiment becomes, like these Rick and Morty writers is what I hear a lot. And I feel like in a lot of ways, it's not a bad call to pull those people because they clearly have a grip on some level of the humor that you want, but also the broad science fiction and the pop culture that you want.
And the volume. They're writing a lot.
And the volume. And I think that those aren't bad decisions, but I do think that, having maybe like another writer who is, used to holding down like a 3-hour plus epic or whatever, like can only... You don't want a million writers on a script necessarily, but I think the fact that they are putting this energy and effort into the scripts and into making these kinds of decisions, that's heartening to me because I feel like oftentimes, especially with Marvel movies or whatever it might be, the script is crucial and the script is often something that could be. You get to the final product, and I always feel bad talking about the writer when talking about the writing because I was just like, so much of this is probably not entirely in your control. But hey, Johnny. Your ranking of the Boys seasons now that season 4 is done filming?
2, 1, 3.
Okay.
And not that 3 was bad. I just didn't. It felt like every single week I was definitely in and I was focused and I was joyous, but it wasn't the same. Like I'm counting down the 6 days between the episodes, like I was with 2. And 1 wasn't bad by any means, but it had a lot to just build. So I just think that like it found a sweet momentum in 2. And they're all 3 seasons. All of those are higher than damn near any other show, though. Like even 3, which is my lowest, is still an A, which is higher than 90% of TV.
Absolutely.
For me.
I think I might revise this upon a rewatch of the show. I've really enjoyed the show across the board. The first season really I just vividly remember the sort of shotgun blast of like, wow, I am not used to this, and this is wild. And I might put this first season at the top for me just because of that sheer. And again, not to say that the continuations of the show have been contrived or bad or anything, but there is that also that kind of quality of like, man, anything can happen, and nobody needs to be kept around necessarily. There's no finagling to be like, okay, how has Homelander not just destroyed everything, but maintaining his max villainy? And I think they do a good job with that. But yeah, like just the power and freshness of the first season puts it pretty strong. And then I feel like for me, 2 and 3 kind of grapple, because there are things about both of them that are just so wild and vivid and memorable. I don't know. I feel like the season 2, if I'm remembering correctly, there were aspects where I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 where it felt like maybe some of the boys weren't quite as crucial, and then I thought kind of season 3 maybe brought it back to that, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, I might go. I don't know if it's 1, 2, 3 or 1, 3, 2.
Sure. Yeah, I feel like they were all very exceptional.
Yeah,
so good.
And actually, I forget who asked in the main chat, but someone wanted to know then, do you think that, what are your hopes and anticipations? Do you think that Generation V will be good, or do you think it'll amount to more of like a, the Mandalorian 2.5 that Boba Fett became?
I don't think that Rogan or Kripke would risk that. Like I feel like Disney with their they make less toys, the boys. So I feel like they have a bit of a focus. So I don't think there would be a need to grow it out. Obviously money is good, but like they don't need to grow it. They could just keep making the boys. Whereas if they want to grow the world, there's a reason behind it. So I trust in the reasoning behind the new shows.
Absolutely. I hope it's good. Yeah, I hope that they can. I think there's a lot you can do, and I would love to see them build out the universe, effectively that way. I hope it. I mean, I feel like there are certain, like The Walking Dead is certainly kind of a touchstone for things like this, and I hope that they can just
keep growing out awesomeness.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's see. Heather Gear, thank you for the sticker. Love it. Waving right back at you. Thank you for just being so lovely here in these streams over on Patreon, all that good stuff. Your support and your love is always a nice bright spot each week. Dan V900, welcome back. Also, the super chats have been closed for now as we're nearing the end here. But Captain Marvel was a very bland film. Brie Larson was directed poorly when you compare her other work as an Oscar-winning actress. The Marvel's VFX looks rough at times. The trailer wasn't impressive. I'm sorry that you're not digging on the new trailer. I do think that it should be acknowledged that a lot of people might only know Brie Larson through Captain Marvel, but she has been terrific in a lot of other
Scott
work.
Pilgrim, Room.
Yeah.
Like, she's incredible.
Yeah. Was she in Short Term 12 too?
Yes.
Yeah, she's great in that. Like, yeah, I think she gets a bad rap. And I hope that, I'll always give the benefit of the doubt to VFX until we're actually at the movies.
Same, because they're working on it now. So
yeah.
I don't really judge from trailers personally.
And yeah, the trailer wasn't exactly what I had necessarily expected, and it didn't necessarily make me like, oh my god, like this is insane. But I can understand if you maybe weren't that enthralled by it, but I liked it quite a bit. But thank you for your thoughts on the matter, Raccoon Shampoo. All the love to you. Could Western comics work with close to one-to-one adaptations like anime or novels? It's unusual how few comic adaptations follow the one-to-one style, despite it being common in other media, and why might this be?
I feel like it's not. The comics aren't made to be adapted. They're made to be digested with your imagination in a different way. Like anime and novels are as well. But I don't know anime as well as comics, so I can't say how those adaptations differ because I don't have the exposure to anime. But I think that comic books are okay. For example, if you look at a comic panel and you go to the next panel, your imagination is the director between the panels. You're controlling the pace, you're controlling the edit, you're controlling the speed, you're controlling how it feels and sounds. So when you make a movie, that's 100 people describing that. That's the lighting, that's the sound, that's the director, that's the actors, that's literally the cinematographer. Everything is different. So I don't think it's possible to do a one-to-one adaptation. And I think when you try, it's a failure because your brain's going like, I wanted this thing exactly like this, and it's too close. It's kind of like the uncanny valley. So I think it's better to do things like Civil War and better to do things like, Winter Soldier, which is like you get the core of the storyline and you make it work for the movie universe you're adapting.
Absolutely, I would agree. Dom, thank you for your contribution. Charlie Heaton for Wolverine, if he could bulk up. He is Jonathan the brother on Stranger Things, I believe.
He was just Cannonball. Charlie Heaton, I'm like the one guy that really liked New Mutants. Charlie Heaton is definitely, okay, this is going to sound mean, but it isn't. He does have that energy of like, I don't know if that guy'd smell good, but... there's no other way to say it.
You said it. Yeah, I was thinking it.
But I think that he's more of how do I put this? He's more of a Ghost Rider type in that I feel like his darkness and his edginess comes from a place of despair versus vengeance. So, like, Ghost Rider has a certain, like, I'm going to keep soldiering on, but I'm a broken man. Wolverine's broken, but he's angry about it. So that's a different energy to me. So I got nothing against Charlie Heaton. I just don't get his vibe as mirroring that as well.
Okay.
Also, there's a ton of Laz Alonso love in the chat, and that makes me really happy because I got a lot of love for Laz Alonso as an actor. Also, Fast and Furious alum. So if you get Fast and Furious and the boys, I got a lot of love for that.
Oh, hell yeah.
Also, Laz and I have been cooking up some stuff. Laz is a good dude. So.
Excited to hear more about that. Also, thank you, Anthony Abrego, for the John and Coy duo love. I love collabing with you.
Yeah, same, man. It's always fun. It's a good time.
Much appreciate you.
And I saw some comments earlier that we weren't keeping it on track. We are. Like, we've gotten through a ton of questions. We went through the headlines.
I feel like this could have gone much more.
Way worse.
I'm sure it could have been better and more organized, but I'm sure it could have also been worse.
Also, those comments were only in the beginning. So that feels good that it hasn't continued. So we have done our job.
Kurt Dan V900 says, and thank you for jumping in again into the super chats. Kurt Busiek criticized the Marvel's title when it was announced, since it's nothing like his series he did with Alex Ross. I wish it had a different title. Not a big fan of using the title in that way.
Huge fan of Kurt, but the Marvels is a brand. If you've got Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel and another character who has gone by Captain Marvel, who goes by Spectrum seemingly, it works narratively. So. I would have loved to have seen the Marvels adapted because the Marvels is one of my favorite, like you're a civilian looking up at these gods in Marvel. Usually that's a DC thing. And it's illustrated by Alex Ross, who's a painter. So it's these stunning vistas of like, imagine if Galactus was just in the sky, filling the sky. The book feels huge. Okay. And it's from the perspective of Urich, who's a Daily Bugle writer. He's a journalist. So you're literally an eye line with someone writing about superheroes through the Marvel history. It's a genius title for the comic book. But in the movie world, you need that brand recognition. So the Marvels, I think, is a great title, even though it's not an adaptation. And this is actually a great example of what we were just talking about, how it's a different medium, so you're going to have different expectations. And, hey, worst case scenario, his book sells good. Like Kurt Busiek, like, that's a good thing to people like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was, but this is great.
Absolutely. There you go. Nice thoughts there, Coy. I appreciate that. Justin Seymour, thank you for contributing here in the Super Chats. Renfield is totally awesome. I had pretty low expectations, but I was blown away by how much bloody fun it was.
It is one of the bloodiest movies I've ever seen. It's also a fun fact. My buddy, acquaintance, Mr. Chris Brewster, who was my stunt double on Star Trek, who became a friend, he was the hallway fight in Daredevil, and he was the stunt coordinator, which means he oversaw the stunts and second unit director for Renfield. So if you like the stunt work, which is incredible in that movie, it's because of the man who brought you Winter Soldier and Daredevil.
Really quick. Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Oh,
there's a reason the Winter Soldier fight's the best, because it's the guy that was in the Daredevil suit. Like, Chris is an actual ninja. His social media is Ninja Brewski, and he is one of the best stunt people I have ever known. He's incredible.
Oh, sweet. Dude, I'm all the things I've been hearing since Renfield came out are getting me very, very excited. Also, really quick, going back to the last question, Marvel's. I remember at one point I was picking your brain because I was like, Coy, there's a specific comic I cannot identify, and it's got this and this and this and this art style. Was that the Marvels? Or was that a Marvels? It's got a very like painted looking style. And,
we talked about it like
and there's like a Human
2 years
Torch.
ago.
They've got the Human Torch in like a case. Okay,
it's exactly that book we talked about 2 years ago, because it's short but it spans a lot of time and it's got impact. It's great.
Yeah. Oh, you know, just a quick one-off sentiment. Thrill Killer. Adapt that shit. Is that the one where the Joker's a lady?
I don't know that run.
Hold on. Anyway, Michael
About
Bean.
to learn some comics.
I'll pull it up because I might be quoting the wrong comic name. But Michael Bean, we love you.
Stay alive in movies and life.
Yeah, and keep keep holding it down with the old Jimmy camera. And he and his wife produce movies now, Michelle Blanc. If you were in charge of casting decisions and Pedro Pascal was interested in joining the MCU, what hero or villain would you, Coy Jandreau, cast him as?
Norman Osborn. I want to see him use his innate charm to convince the American public that he's a good guy when every bit of fact shows that he's a bad guy. And you need someone. I always say Tom Hanks would be a great Norman Osborn, which people don't like see, but it's because he's America's dad. Like, you need someone that is so, like, Norman Osborn won the presidency in the comic books. Norman Osborn ran the Dark Avengers. Norman Osborn was also the head of one of the biggest corporations in the world while obviously being the Green Goblin. It needs to be someone that is so likable that you can't see what's right in front of your face, and Pedro Pascal is charm incarnate. So I'd love to see him play a villain where it's not trapped in a rough script, but one that he got to use that Pedro's charm.
Read that, Coy. Read that.
I love Howard Chaykin. I have not read this.
Read that. It's a good-ass novel.
Is that from the early 2000s? Because that goatee is suspect.
Probably. I mean, I remember Greg and I checking it out from the library, like probably in the 2000s. That would have been around the time. So yeah, just a good old. But yeah, I agree with the Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
Because you need to. I feel like too. You can't have him be too Maxwell Gold.
Right, exactly. I think he wants to play a villain, so let him. But go over there.
Let him actually be a villain.
A villain.
Galaghost, what's up, Andres? It's good to see you in here once again. Thank you for always jumping in and giving us some love. Oh yeah, that's right. Congrats on the move too.
I'm jealous, man. I miss Boston.
Hey, Coy, Coy. Much love for the both of you. Are you looking forward to PS5 Spider-Man 2 this fall? Tony Todd is Venom is fire. Cheers, fellas.
It got like a little New York at the end there, but I support it.
My Boston always does.
It happens. People go Long Island from Boston very commonly.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to this?
I am. I mean, like I haven't a PS5, and I need to catch up with the two prolific Spider-Man games. But what you had me at was Tony Todd as Venom, and I've been snatching up some of the games that I can catch up with on my PS3. But at some point, I'm going to have to move into the future, and I would love to be able to do that. Coinciding with Spider-Man 2, because Tony Todd is amazing in any form, but especially he's got that voice, man, and I cannot wait.
I bought a PS4 for Spider-Man 2. I'm hoping they're kind and let me have a PS4 version of this. I doubt it because they want to sell PS5s, but I really hope I don't have to buy another system. That said,
I mean, if they do a PS4, I might have a little
you might have a little baby upgrade.
I don't have to wait, for them to choose me to get a PS5.
But my buddy Yuri is Spider-Man, so He hasn't told me a thing because he's a good man, but his excitement is so clear when I ask about it and he tells me nothing that I'm really confident. Like, I love that Yuri's so excited that even though he won't say any specifics, like his glee and like it's palpable. So I'm excited just because like one, I love my dude, but also like he knows how good that first game was. I don't think he'd be this like, oh, you're not ready if it wasn't exceptional. So I'm very excited.
Hells yeah. Aisha Kenya, Tom Hardy as Wolverine. He has the acting chops, the rugged look. He's 5'8", and he can lead a franchise. Thoughts? I feel like he could smell it up, but you know, what do you think, Toy?
You know, that's actually a really good point. Tom Hardy can smell it up. Tom Hardy is like the definition of like he can be both the charming guy in This Means War as well as like, oh man, Bronson, that guy hasn't bathed ever. And I think that's his power. Like Tom Hardy is one of the best chameleon actors working, and a lot of people don't like his like muttering style, but it definitely suits Wolverine. My only issue is the brand recognition with Venom. I do think that like it'd be hard for Green Lantern only got played by Ryan Reynolds once. There are certain actors that have become synonymous, and I do feel like there's going to be an association there. That said, it also might be tricky that Tom Hardy is 45, turning 46. He will start to look older soon, and Wolverine is not aging. So that's a little tricky. Like I think you need to cast. I'd actually cast I'd cast early 20s, age them up to look 30. That way, as they age, they just look like they've aged. Like I would find someone younger and age them up digitally or with makeup, and then let them enter the Wolverine age myself.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like yeah, Tom Hardy is a guy who could do it, and I would be excited to see do it, but I feel like it's not exactly like, yeah, he would need to be maybe a little younger and a little less. I feel like casting somebody too high profile almost works against the new
that
Wolverine.
One. Yeah, I agree.
Because yeah, I don't know, like Hugh Jackman partly rose through Wolverine,
yeah,
and then
he was
became
pretty
ubiquitous. Yeah, so I feel like you still need some of that unknown quality, even though he is such a huge star now. But yeah, Gala Ghost back again with a follow-up. Love the DC animated reactions. What's your favorite DC animated film so far? Cheers.
Oh boy.
Every time we talk about like a top 5, it always
we
like,
just get
spans.
stressed.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, what are the go-tos?
Red Hood, Flashpoint.
Turtles.
Turtles, dude.
Turtles is so rad. JL Dark.
Yeah, I think those are my solid 4, and then the 5th one is the newest one.
The newest one, and also I'll say the Gotham, what's the title of that? Where they have the Assault on Arkham.
Assault on Arkham was exceptional too.
Was wicked.
Those are definitely my tops. I would say the one we just watched, which we're teasing heavily, is in the top 5. It might have dropped out Arkham, but it's really hard to judge because of how good Arkham was. So, those are insane.
Yeah, such a joy, and very excited. I think the next one should be up tomorrow. So
you'll know tomorrow.
Look out for that, man. Some good punchlines in there. Bryce Burris, The Last Kingdom on Netflix is a must-watch. Thank you for the recommendation. I've seen the advertisements, and I've seen it like pop up on the Netflix, but I haven't seen the show yet, and it looks pretty rollicking, pretty hardcore period epic over here.
One of my favorite shows ever was called Kingdom on Netflix. It used to be on like DirecTV, and then it went to Netflix. Now it's nowhere. I actually bought it because I was so worried about it never being seen again that I own the DVDs. But anytime I see the name Kingdom on Netflix, I'm like, I miss my baby. Frank Grillo, Jonathan Tucker, MMA show.
Oh, John Tucker's on.
Dude, Jonathan Tucker is
He's
like
a great actor.
I want him in a DC Marvel thing more than anyone because he should be a household name.
Sure. New Quicksilver. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Come up with your best John Tucker.
Actually, that's good. Yeah. While you read the next one, I'm gonna think of that.
All right, Raccoon Shampoo. When I think of Kingdom and Netflix, I think of the Korean zombie period piece, which is also great, and we got reactions up for that, so go check them out. Elevator Pitch, Raccoon Shampoo. Elevator Pitch, true crime mockumentary series about Silver Age DC villains.
That's fun.
I would love that, and also I want to shout out in this moment, friends of the channel, Giant Panda King, Russell Beatty. I think he goes by. He just changed his name. He's like Baboon God now or something. But he did a terrific. He and his crew did a terrific take on the Batman characters called Gotham. oh God, what are the years? 1939 to 1945 or something like that. But yeah, it's like, Art Deco takes on, it's like 1930s style, like film noir takes on all these characters. And it's this beautiful book that is presented like a case file with, photographs of, the different characters, write-ups on them, like little, police reports and things like that. Like there's like a whole, sort of take on the lore across this book. That is, it's a book, but it is presented almost like a piece of true crime amalgamated in a way, and it's a really wonderful take. So go check them out at Giant Panda King, and yeah, just bask in the beauty of that. Because that kind of matches what you're pitching here. But I would love to see something like that. I think that would be really fun. I mean, I always like that sort of. I don't know. You say Silver Age, so I flash back to something that would be like a period piece or something like that. But I would love some kind of true crime mockumentary in that vein, for sure.
I got 3.
Okay, go.
Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man Hobgoblin, because you cannot do Norman Osborn, I don't think, now that you've got Willem Dafoe and all that interaction in No Way Home. So you have Ned Leeds be introduced as someone that's working at the Daily Bugle alongside Andrew Garfield. So it's the right age, and you allow that mania of Jonathan Tucker to be the Hobgoblin, to allow him to have a goblin before he's done. If not Hobgoblin, he'd be a great Eddie Brock. I think like the look of Jonathan Tucker allows for him to play that 90s Todd McFarlane. He's not blonde, but he's got that like jock build. And I think that like the intensity of his like manic energy opposite Andrew Garfield would be really interesting. And again, you can't do the Tom Hardy one unless you fold it in, which they could, but I think having his own Venom. And then finally, I think he'd be a great Jigsaw for the MCU's Punisher in a really unique way that I think like if they don't use Ben Barnes' Jigsaw, it'd be really fun to see him play like a military guy that came up and like, had to deal with all that stuff.
Bring back John Travolta.
Yeah, he's ready.
But yeah, this is Gotham 1919 to 1939, and there's also, I believe, a Metropolis version that they've got as well. But yeah, it's really beautiful, and if they still, I think they just did a new edition, so check them out because it's really beautifully realized. But yeah, so hopefully maybe kind of similar to your true crime pitch here. But yeah, Louis Barry, Josh Brolin as Batman, Fionn Whitehead as Soups, and Timothy Chalamet as Barry Allen. Willem Dafoe as the Joker, Bryan Cranston as Lex Luthor.
Okay, I love all of that.
Fan cast.
I think Josh Brolin was like number 2 to be Batman twice now. I don't know if Brolin is... I don't know if he wants 3 movies, man. I don't know if he wants like to get in that kind of shape and stay there. That's just such a commitment.
Especially be Batman.
Yeah, like that's a real commitment. But I do love the idea of him as a Batman. Like I think he's solid. I also don't know what age they're going to go with Batman because I don't think they're going to want him more than 10 years older than Superman. So I think he's going to be a young father. Damian Wayne's going to be like 9. So like you can have the dude be like in his 30s very easily, and I everyone's going like 40s, 50s, but you could have a 30-year-old Batman still with a young child. So I think Nicholas Hoult would be a pretty solid Batman.
Cool,
because I think that he could be the paternal thing. I think that he's almost been Batman before, and I really see that he's so charming and interesting and dark. So I that's more the direction I'm going in. I don't know Fionn Whitehead, but the rest are fan casts I've had. Like, I totally agree with Willem Dafoe's Joker. I think Bryan Cranston is Lex Luthor, so I agree with the rest of yours.
I am the one who knocks with kryptonite. Yeah, some definitely solid choices in here. Gala Ghost back again. Dream Christmas special. Damian Wayne's Home Alone. Oh my God, just him at Wayne Manor and the Batcave.
Traps.
Yeah, just making traps. No one even breaks in.
He's just doing it.
It's just him doing it to do it.
Or you go the whole pantheon of rogues that are like not gonna ever get their solo movies, and they're all breaking into Wayne Manor. Like they find out who Bruce Wayne is, and it's Damian's job to keep them out to not prove that he is Batman. Like he's got to keep them from discovering the identity for certain, and it's all the C and D list villains.
Sure. Oh my God, I would. Oh.
Guys, call me. I'll write your movies.
There needs to be more Christmas. One thing we need more of in comic movies and properties.
A Shane Black, Damian Wayne Christmas movie.
Hollywood, get on it, all right?
Make it happen.
That is perfect. And that would be a great way for Shane Black to kick the door in and join the MCU.
You know who
DCU.
You know who joins the third act, making it a buddy cop thing? Nightwing.
Yes, you have to.
Nightwing buddy cop.
You have to.
Nightwing, Damian Wayne, reluctant buddy cop.
Nightwing and Damian Wayne is one of my favorite relationships.
It's right
now.
there.
Like I adore, and there's some good stuff with that in the thing
man.
we're about to watch tomorrow.
We've teased that so well. This is just a commercial for tomorrow's video.
Yeah. So I expect you all to be there bright and early. But yes, all the more Christmas, more Halloween for me, but also just I want more romance in these things. I want like a romantic comic book movie of some
Mr.
variety.
Freeze, man.
I'm
telling you, make a Ryan Gosling Mr. Freeze movie that's basically just like The Notebook but with crime.
Yes.
It's right there.
Beautiful.
A sweeping Nicholas Sparks epic with crime.
I love that. Like, we get these little tastes, and I'm like, come on, you cowards.
Make love.
Same with Star. As much as people dogged that episode 6 of Mandalorian this season, I was like, but they had some romance.
Yeah, it is weird that we've
there.
sterilized romance from franchises. Like, it's a really weird phenomenon that there isn't as much, like, passion or love or, like, connection between human beings. I think it's in part because we're not, like, experiencing it to scale in life. I think the writers don't realize they're missing it because in life, we're so digital, we're so removed. We don't connect as a species anymore, and I think our art is reflecting that. It's just really alarming to see.
It's because romance is for girls, Coy.
Yeah, girls don't like movies that are with
aren't for
Supermans.
Girls. Go watch Nicholas Sparks for real if you're a girl. No, that would be my before we move on, that would be my Batman and Catwoman movie. Would just be like before sunrise, but with Batman and Catwoman on the rooftops of Gotham.
Game, dude.
Like,
I'd love that.
Put some crime in there, but then just intersperse it with them just walking and talking and having a
love
relationship.
That so much. A Richard Linklater before trilogy with Batcat would be so good.
That's gonna be my opus.
Oh,
I'm
man.
gonna write that someday. Doe Eyes. Oh no, Dom. Can we petition for a Young Justice watch through with you two?
I mean, maybe when we're done with all the movies.
Maybe.
In 2027.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But I mean, anything DC, anything animated, anything you want to do,
yeah,
I will
let us
always
know in the
jump
comments
for.
of these videos because that's the best way to like see them contained. So like write in the videos the comment like what you want to see because there's also
4
like
seasons worth.
that's substantial. There's also like some Marvel animated stuff I haven't seen. So yeah, let us know in the comments.
Same. Yeah, we got some, definitely like a treasure trove of Marvel stuff too. But yeah, I love the idea and we'll definitely take it under consideration. Doe Eyes, cheers and happy Saturday. Back at you. Appreciate the love. Cheers and happy Saturday, lads. Cheers to you, Doe Eyes. And hey, keep baking over there. Robbo96. Hey guys, do you think they've missed an opportunity not putting Short Round in the new indie movie? And also, what are your expectations for it? I'm still like vaguely holding out for a surprise.
Same.
You know, like I almost feel like if they could keep that a secret and, you know, there's not the amount of ravenousness to uncover, you know, plot details on a movie like that. I'm sure there are leaks and things, but I think that would be the most gratifying surprise and so lovely if they could do that. And that would be like just those pictures of him and Harrison Ford like reuniting and hugging it out.
Yeah, I feel like that maybe cause some reshoots. Like you had the
feel like-
time.
Yeah,
you had the time.
Yeah, and like and especially if this is going to send off the character and everything, I feel like it would be a lovely thing for them to do.
Also.
And I mean, they could DH him if they have to, and he doesn't even look that much older. It would be very plausible that he's at least something of an adult now, depending on the years, because Temple of Doom is the earliest set movie anyway. So
the year was 2018. The network, Nerdist. The show, I forget. I was on as a guest, and one of the people asked what you would do for Indy 5 before it was ever made, because Chris Pratt was in the news again as maybe being Indy 5. It was like 5 or 6 years ago. And I said, on record, the only way I'd want anyone to take the hat from him would be Short Round getting it because he's the right age. And it's also, you make it more techie by using all the like stuff. Literally pitched this as the spinoff, and like I would love if at least he's physically there now that he got an Oscar.
Dude,
like let the guy play.
Hells yeah. And I mean, that would be one of the few scenarios where like doing legacy characters spinoff, but in the same vein would just kind of, it just seems kind of natural instead of like a reach. So yeah, man, I've always wondered where Short Round has been. What's he been up to? Yeah, justice for Short Round, and I love your idea, and I hope it happens. I hope it comes to pass. And if they don't put him in, I do think it. We'll see how the movie is. I trust James Mangold.
Oh
generally,
yeah, it looks great.
But would feel maybe just a smidge bummed if it didn't happen. Just Bread VR. we've talked about this a couple times now, but we will address it once again before we get out of here today. Yeah, what happened to reactions to Superman and Lois? Greg put it the most eloquently on our stream last week, but basically, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we have here to cover, and the schedule. I mean, from the outside, it's like, yeah, there are lots of things that we would love to be able to just cover and put up and not have to really be concerned with, the volume of videos and the algorithm and the, way YouTube works when you post a certain amount of videos in a day. There are a lot of considerations, and Superman and Lois, while we love that show and had a great time reacting to it, it just hasn't had the amount of support to really kind of justify keeping that slot when there are so many other things to prioritize, and also when so many hours and so much manpower goes into these videos, because again, it appears, certainly from the outside, very kind of effortless, I'm sure, but many hours, it's like you've got the hour and change, hour and a half it takes to shoot that, and then multiple hours go into the editing of the highlights and the reviewing of the highlights and then the thumbnails and the posting and all that stuff. And so we really wanted to continue with it, and it just hasn't really proven viable at the moment. So so a bummer. Never say never, but I don't really anticipate the React series continuing in this form anyway. So yeah, big love for the show, and glad people are loving it, but as a React series, yeah, it just hasn't been quite what we need it to be to, put that amount of investment ahead of other things. So yeah, but I appreciate the love, and I hope that people at least enjoyed those first 2 seasons with us, because I can't wait to catch up with season 3. It really, like, watch it, add it to your.
It's on the 30 or 40. I forget what number, but yeah, it's on there.
Yeah, it's. I
have season 2 on Blu-ray. I just haven't watched season 1 or 3 yet.
I would love to hear your thoughts, because especially with all the debate about the different takes on Superman.
I hear he's great, and I hear the show is Superman, so I'd love to.
Yeah.
Just time.
Yeah, I mean, even in my just sort of novice relation to all these characters and stories, and what the truth of them is supposed to be, or the quintessence of them is, I felt like they've done a really lovely and faithful job of adapting Superman in a way that doesn't feel like they feel hampered by what the character needs to be, and I think that's a good thing. So yeah, dude, how you feeling?
We crushed the damn thing. We got many super chats, many Streamlabs.
Absolutely.
And live chat's still moving. I want to. Any questions in here before we boogie out of here?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I'm really sorry.
Oh, Tommy from Dunkirk. I do know that guy. He would be a solid Superman. I see that. I like that.
Okay, sure, yeah. Yeah, and that's another one of those choices where I'm like, okay, I wouldn't have necessarily called it, but yeah, I can see it definitely, and it's one of those like unlikely choices. And hey, I don't know, maybe you should react to Superman and Lois on your channel and see.
I got all that time. I got to watch 3 seasons of a show. I got all that time.
If everyone who comments about Superman and Lois brings 5 friends, and they all watch Superman and Lois, and then they share the videos with their 5 friends, and all of a sudden,
exponential
they just
growth
start popping off.
You're like, wow, the show is exploding season 4.
Yeah. Do you know Greg Wiseman? I don't.
I don't either.
I don't. But hey, shout him out and let him know that we love him anyway. Yeah, a lot of short round love in the chat. Young Justice love in the chat, certainly. We'll keep it under consideration for sure. Warhammer, people excited for Henry Cavill's Warhammer.
I think Mario just definitely helped it out. I think there's going to be a surge of everything nerd and gamey adaptation love soon.
Ooh.
I think the Nintendo universe is going to be insane, but I also think there's going to be a lot of people being like, make video game movies.
Yeah. Yeah, well, now
I know that Warhammer's not a video game, but like games are going to, because Dungeons and Dragons didn't do as well as I think they thought weekend 1, but it continued to do okay. And then, Sonic did great, and Mario did huge.
And Last of Us.
Yeah, and Last of Us, yeah, jeez.
And the hit Resident Evil mini adaptations everyone loves unanimously across the board, all of them.
Yeah.
And yes, Jen Jacinda, if the Notebook with crime doesn't sell you, I don't know what will. That's the pitch. We'll give you a percentage of the back end.
I honestly, other than Deadpool, can't think of a romance in recent comic movies that was like, it felt like a part of the story.
Dude,
like,
Cersei and not Superman in the Eternals first.
You know how much I love that
scene.
movie? That is the part that, like, I actually liked Angelina Jolie's relationship way more. Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
But like, I just feel like as a fixture of the film, it's really rare to have relationships in there.
Yeah, I I get. I can understand what might be standing in the way in terms of audience response, but I feel like they should at least in certain places. I don't know.
I like the Bat and the Cat and the Batman.
Bat and the Cat, maybe Peggy and Cap.
Yeah, I don't know.
To a degree, even though that's not like spent a ton of time on. Giancarlo Esposito as Roderick Kingsley Hobgoblin.
He's a lot of people's Magneto, but I think it'd be a lot more interesting to have him as Xavier.
Yeah, I want to see him not be the bad guy.
Yeah, and Xavier's got his darkness, but he's not the bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. Bohemian Rhapsody 2 has been confirmed. Is that real?
It cannot be. I do not. What?
Aisha Kenya seems to think you will not enjoy The Killing Joke.
Heard it's not great.
Wow, I guess this must be real. Bohemian Rhapsody 2, that is odd to me. That what are they going to do? The real version now?
What? Yeah, are they going to actually tell the story of the man
They're going to do
instead
the
of
revised version?
Yeah, they just like actually tell who he is. Oh God, Freddie Mercury, we're sorry. What are they doing?
And don't worry, they'll drop Transformers trailer when you least expect it. Probably, I don't know, Monday morning, 6 a.m. or something like that. Who knows? Yeah. Oh, guys, thank you so much for joining us and for making us feel loved today. I hope you've had a good time. I hope we've got to, at least a good amount of your thoughts here in the chat, as well as thank you for all the super chat contributions and just for helping, guide this conversation and yeah, for making this such a joy for us as much as we hope it is for you. Some Alex Ross love in the chat as well. And yeah, dude, I appreciate the love for the three of us. Aditya Tripathi says, just love the trio, John, Greg, and Coy. And I'm glad I got Coy from this channel. Been following him since. Much love from India. And Keanu Reeves or Norman Reedus is Ghost Rider.
I think Norman Reedus would be an excellent Ghost Rider. I think Keanu Reeves would be an excellent Silver Surfer.
Are you into Darkness?
I am.
As what?
I'm the Nibberins.
Hey!
That's what Chris was my stunt double on. So there was 6 actors cast as like 600 aliens. So I'm mocapped and cloned. So I'm like dozens of aliens in that movie. And I got scanned for a video game. I worked on it for like 5 weeks. We did a ton of stuff on practical planets. Like JJ actually built us a red planet. Like that red planet in Into Darkness was a practical set, and it was like half a football field long. It was stunning to like work on. It was like 8 hours of makeup to get in and 4 hours to get out. So our days were like 20 hours. It was one of the craziest jobs I've ever had.
Sounds like, geez.
It was bananas, and they had us in black contacts that were like almost as thick as ping pong balls cut in half. So I had to have like a device to get the thing in my eye because we were shot in IMAX.
Contacts.
Because so the IMAX camera picks up so much light, so if the light got in and you could see through the contact had to be made for IMAX cameras. So I was in 7 layers of latex, and then I had these contacts in. I had fake teeth. I had things covering my ears, so I was like blind and couldn't hear well and couldn't touch. It was the most disorienting. They actually had a marine psychologist on set because we basically all went through like claustrophobia training because we couldn't feel or see or hear. So we like people were going into like panic and stuff, and we had to like coach through that. It was a really intense set, but I'm so honored to have been part of it.
Dude, hells yeah.
That's where I met Chris.
That's lovely. Okay, last thing before we skedaddle, real quick, just a quick domer.
Okay.
Jamie Campbell Bower. Would you cast him as anybody? Vecna 1.
Jamie Campbell Bower. I would say he'd be a great arcade.
Ooh.
In the MCU, a villain for the X-Men, but also like a really interesting commentary on game culture right now. I would say he'd be an interesting Harry Osborn. I would say he would be very good as someone with like a manic energy in the X-Men, but he has like an angelic quality to him. I'd almost say he'd be a really good Archangel. Like if they started with Warren as a good guy, because I could see him be good, but then like going dark and doing like the Blue Archangel storyline.
Cool. All right. Well,
off the dome, those are what I got. And
absolutely,
curly fries are better than normal fries. Both are very important, though.
Put them in, get them combo, man. Like most places are sophisticated enough that you can just get them mixed in the box. Get your best of both worlds. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for there's a hand heart. Thank you for all the love and yeah, for making this live stream. I hope a success. Maybe in the future we'll be able to team up again.
Yeah, that was fun, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's always
Scarecrow. Great call. Sorry.
Sure. No, absolutely.
That's just Vecna again, but I'm into it.
Sure. Yeah, it really is. But I wouldn't be mad about it. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Leave a like. That always helps out. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one. Much love and have a great rest of y'all's weekend.
See y'all soon.
And yeah, be well. Party on.
DC Animated tomorrow.
Doo-doo-ba-doo. Ending.